good morning, everybody, wherever you are in the world. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And welcome back to day 2 of the Herstory Online Summit, where we're celebrating International Women's Month from all 4 corners of the world. Ladies, please introduce yourselves. Tell everybody where you are, your name, before we get started with our summit this morning. We can start with you, Verna.
Oh, hello. My name is Verna V. Nickelberry, and I am in Memphis on today.
Fantastic. Miss Ruth, wonderful to have you back.
I hope you can hear me. My network is really playing up today. My name is Ruth Dengwani. I am in Harare in Zimbabwe. Good to be here.
Good to have you here, Ruth. I'm hoping your network holds out. If not, we truly understand what you're going through in Zim. So for those of you who don't know, Zimbabwe's had a few power cuts. Ruth has been offline for quite a few days. It's almost 10 days now, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's good to have you here. So we're going to launch right into our program, starting with Miss Verna Nickelberry. Ruth, do you want to read out her bio before we play her video?
Yes, I can do that. So Miriam
Oh, Ruth's connection is tricky. Okay, so I better take over. This is when technology fails us all the time.
Yes, indeed.
All right. So, Miss Verna V. Nickelberry is the CEO of V Machine Enterprise, as well as the founder and editorial director of Ordinary People magazine and the owner of Blue Skies and Green Glass Publishing. She's also the host of OPM Live with Miss Verna V. Nickelby. She's the creator and producer of the OPM Servants Awards, which honors ordinary individuals, nonprofit organizations, and small to large corporations that make great impact in their communities through community services, mentorship, community development, and monetarily. But let's not forget the act of being kind. Thank you so much. She's a native of Memphis, Tennessee, and volunteers for a whole range of nonprofits. Now, what's amazing about your story is that the theme for our event, as you know, is the power of giving. So we're going to share your video today, and then we will have a fireside chat where people can get to know you, can ask you questions. We are going live on both Facebook and YouTube. So if you're online, hang in there. After I've played this video, you can come in and ask questions as well. So here we go.
Hi, my name is Verna V. Nickelberry, and I'm talking about spirituality. Spirituality, what is the meaning of spirituality, and why is it so important? Webster states that the state of having a connection to God, your spirituality, is a big part of your being. I don't mean in a religious sense, but the human side of you. It's about your soul, your inner being. And the more you listen to the voice of God, the more your spirituality will begin to come through. Oftentimes, we ask the question, what is my purpose here on earth? It may seem that you are wandering around trying to figure out what to do with your life, or you will begin to ask yourself, why am I here? At this point, I would say turn to God and ask Him what it is that you would have me to do. He knows us better than anyone. In the book of Jeremiah, chapter 1, verse 5, God tells Jeremiah that before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee, and the same is true for us as well. As you begin to seek the will of God for your life, listen closely to his instructions. He will guide you along the way. He will give you direction for every aspect of your life. But seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all of these things shall be added unto you. Matthew 6 and 33. Now, keep in mind that you must create a space in your day to day activities to spend time with God. This can be 30 minutes in the morning before beginning your day or 30 minutes before going to bed. Create a small oasis in a section of your bedroom, just a small section in your bedroom, or just a quiet place where you can go to get into the face of God. During this time, you will slowly begin to develop a personal relationship with God, a personal and deep relationship with God. And you may even notice small changes in yourself. Your look on life will begin to change as well. And that burning desire, what is my purpose here on earth, won't seem as bleak anymore. So take your time. Take your time and getting to know God. I can remember feeling this way when I was younger, feeling very different from many of my friends, many of my classmates, and a little awkward in certain settings. And this was due largely because I spent a lot of time at church and a lot of time reading. I spent a lot of time at the library as well. And at this time, I had no idea how much I loved going to church. I went because, or at least I thought I went because my mom made us go to church on Sunday, and we would go to our church in the morning time. And then in the evening times, we would go and visit other churches. Of course, we felt like my mom just didn't have anything else to do, and she just dragged us along with her from church to church, from morning to noon, all over into the evening time. But now, as I look back, it was the best thing that she could have done for us. But more importantly, it was the best thing that she could have done for me. So you see, it made me who I am today. There is nothing like being in the face of God. Being in his presence is an awesome, awesome feeling. This is the spirituality that most seek. This is the spirituality that gets you through the most tough and difficult times, your most tough and difficult times in your life. Knowing that you have developed a personal relationship with God and he has your back no matter what. So Hebrews 13 and 15 tell us, let your conversation be without covenants and be content with such things as ye have. For he has said, I will never leave thee, nor will I forsake thee. And isn't that wonderful that we know God has us, that he has us our back? And so as I began to mature in the word of God, I realized that I could take comfort knowing that God would always be there for me. And knowing this, it made life a little easier. The trials and tribulations, they still came and they will come. But I held on to the word of God, held on to my spirituality. You see, God would never give us more than we can bear. He knows what our strengths are as well as our weaknesses. And with that being said, I am reminded of a scripture. What shall we then say to these things? If God be for us, who can be against us? And that's Romans 8 and 31. And so everything that we need is in the Word of God. I am a firm believer of divine order, meaning that even before we were born, God has already put things or had already put things in order for our lives. He knows what it is that we are to do and what we are in need of. He knows why we were created and for what purpose we were created for. It is us who spend so much time, we spend so much wasted time trying to figure it all out. You may find yourself asking the question, what is my life purpose here on earth? And oftentimes you may find yourself moving from one project to the other and not achieving that feeling of fulfillment. That's because you wasted so much time trying to figure it all out, trying to figure out your purpose instead of going to God and asking Him first. I can remember this happening to me. I was involved in so many projects, but yet not getting the satisfaction from any of them that I craved, that satisfaction that I craved. So I took a step back and began to evaluate my life and my purpose. I started to seek the will of God for my life even more and asking what would he have me to do, asking him to show me my life purpose. And we know that all things work together for good to them that loves God, to them who are called according to his purpose. That's Romans 8 and verse 28. As you begin to embark upon your life journey, seeking your spirituality, seek God for all of your decisions. Any decisions that you have to make, seek God first. Ask for wisdom, ask for guidance, and ask for a clear understanding of your vision that He has for you so that you will know without a shadow of a doubt what is your life purpose. And the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tablets that he may run that readeth it. Habakkuk 2 and 2. When I read this scripture, my first thought was a life plan, a business plan, goals you've set for yourself. We want to make sure whatever it is, be it your life plan, your business plan, or whatever goals you have set, we want to make sure that it's clear, that they are clear, so that when you are faced with any life decisions, you will know exactly what to do. Because it is planned in your goals, you've written it all down. All the while keeping your spirituality intact. Your plan, your vision, whichever it should be, it's almost like creating a signature brand, so to speak. Your journey is your journey. It is uniquely yours, designed with you in mind. At times it will seem hard, but remember that God has already laid the path before you to follow, and He will be with you every step of the way. He is your counselor, your teacher, your roadmap to your destiny. For the Word of God is life, and it can surely breathe life into your plan and to you as well. 4. It says, Thy word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. That's Psalms 119, 105, and verse 105. So I want you to stay focused, stay on the path that God has set before you. Be careful of the counsel that you seek. Counsel, you may ask. Well, I'm referring to seeking the opinion of many. Remember that the counsel of God is firm. The counsel of the Lord standeth forever. Psalms 33 and 11. So you don't want to be running around getting a whole lot of different opinions here and there. Stay with God. Stay within that realm that you're creating. When God gave me the assignment of producing a magazine, honestly, I had no idea what to do. I didn't have any money. I didn't know where to begin. I really didn't know where to begin, but still I accepted the assignment, but I accepted it reluctantly. One of the first things that I did, I researched the cost, the startup cost, how to start a magazine. It was more than I could afford. I didn't have any money, first of all. And then my studies was in journalism. And not only that, but I didn't have anyone to go to ask any questions, to ask for help. I really did not know where to begin. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know what to do first. Just how was I going to create this magazine? So I took my question back to the one who gave me the vision. I took my questions back to God, the giver of all vision. And so it was He who guided me from the start to the finish of that very first magazine. It was awesome. It took a lot of work, but I said yes, and I'm so glad that I did. And here we are from 2008 all the way up to 2022. We're still in existence. So take fast and hold on to instructions. God's going to give you some instructions. He guided me and He led me and instructed me on what to do and who be with whom. So, I want you to take fast and hold on to instructions. So the first Proverbs 4:13 says, take fast and hold of instruction. Take fast hold of instructions. Let her not go. Keep her, for she is thy life. The Psalms 4 and verse 13. The scripture is simply saying, follow the instructions, hold fast to good instructions because they are good for your life. Although it may get tough and it will seem as if everything is coming against you during your journey, but hold firm because God got you. Don't give up. I don't want you to give up. And, don't throw in the towel so quickly. So don't give up. Don't give in. Be like the tree planted by the rivers of water. And he shall be like a tree planted by the rivers of water that spring forth his fruit in his season. His leaf also shall not wither, and whatsoever he doeth shall prosper. Psalms 1 and 3. And during these times, read your word more, read your Bible more. We're still building the spirituality, and God will begin to speak to you through his written word. Search the Bibles for scriptures. Those that's going to get you through. Search the Bible for them. And they will help you. And they will help you to stay focused. Place them where you can see them. Place them on your wall. Place them on your desk. Place them on the mirror in your bathroom. Place them in your car. And remember, the word of God is life. It's life. I'm telling you what I know. And you will be surprised how much this will help you as well as brighten your day. This is how your spirituality will begin to grow. The more time you spend with God and allowing Him to lead you and to teach you in all things life, you will see a big difference in your thinking, in your daily actions, and how You respond to others. Yes, you will not. You will be able to respond to others in a much different way. Trust me. A different in your life as a whole. You will see a difference in your life. Slowly, you will step outside of the box of your creativity. Your thinking will go from, what to do to what would God have me to do in all situations. Now you are developing a personal relationship with God, which is a good thing. This will help you as your confidence grows, and it will also help you in every other area of your life. Come outside the four walls of your office, of your home. If you got a office inside your home, come outside, step into the world. I want you to step into the world of networking and collaboration. And with newfound interbeing spirituality, you should feel comfortable in any setting. You will be able to move in group settings and expressing yourself in any occasions arise to expound on whatever it is you want to expound upon. Because you see, you have confidence now, and you have the assurance that God is with you. No, this is not arrogant, but it's you and God working together to get the job. Hey, to get the job done in excellence. This also cometh forth from the Lord of hosts, which is wonderful in counsel and excellent in working. That's Isaiah 28, verse 29. With every new project, always seek God first. Refer back to your notes from the beginning of your plan when it said write the vision. Refer back as you incorporate new ideas, keeping your mind sharp and fresh. Research your field of expertise often to ensure that you are always in the know and is aware of any changes. I spent many hours on webinars about the magazines, where to go, what should I do, all about the magazine world, just trying to stay in the know, what to add, what not to add to my publication. Not just that, but oftentimes, I would notice some of the publications would pretty much be printing and writing about the same thing, the same article, but they would be a little different from time to time. Many publications may be reporting on the same event, but showing it in a different light. So continuing education is very important. Continue your education in whatever field that you may be in. You want to make sure that you are up on things. And most webinars are free. Collaboration is also one way of expanding. You want to be able to build the relationship that you have with others on this life journey of yours. Don't be afraid to partner. Don't be afraid of collaboration. Don't be afraid to partner with others. This is a plus for you as well as for them. And once you allow God to begin to lead and guide you in everything and all things, things will begin to become a little more easier. Maybe not at first, but for sure, as you yourself but for sure, you will begin to grow. Your confidence begin to grow, and you begin to grow into the person that God has intended for you to be. And we all want to be that person that God intended for us to be. And last but not least, as you grow and as you begin to be more confident in whatever that you're doing, give back to your community. Yeah, give back. For example, you might want to volunteer with the Girls and Boys Club. You might want to volunteer to read at your local library. Sometimes they have time that you read to smaller children. You might want to read to children in a hospital. Whatever it is, give back. Give back to your community. And that's a really good thing. to give back. And you might want to, and then also you might want to start a nonprofit organization of your own, something that you are very, very passionate about. There's so many businesses that include nonprofits into their business. So, and then this would also allow you to become a little bit more visible in your community. This would definitely allow you to become a little bit more visible in your community. So, through your development, your life development, and through developing a relationship with God and following God's instructions, you will begin to flourish in everything, in life, in your businesses, in your relationship. You will begin to just really, really grow. But most importantly, stay on the path that God has set before you, no matter what. Your obstacles are only stepping stones, sometimes better and sometimes greater. Something greater and something better. They're just stepping stones to get you to your next level. So stay focused, stay prayed up, and stay in the face of God. Stick with God. Let your spirituality grow, and you won't grow wrong at all. Everything. Stay on the path. Stick with God. Stay in the face of God, and watch yourself flourish, and watch your spirituality grow. Thank you so very much. And again, my name is Verna V. Nickelberry, and it's definitely been a pleasure speaking with you.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful presentation, Verna. Thank you so much. And a beautiful start to our day. You know, you touched on so many things that are in line with the theme of this event. The power of giving is something you have been doing most of your life. You live and walk it, and it's inspiring to watch. But I think one of the biggest take homes I got was the power of collaboration. I remember when we first met and you told me about your magazine, and I told you about my magazine, and we had so much synergy in terms of what we're both doing. We're not in competition with each other. We can collaborate with each other and share ideas. And I'm hoping that through the Herstory movement, we develop those kind of relationships with the women who are coming onto the platform, knowing that there is enough to go around, there is no competition, and the more we collaborate, the stronger we get as women. So thank you so much for gracing us with this beautiful presentation. You can unmute, ladies, if you want to respond and give Ms. Verna some feedback. There we go. Miss Ruth.
Yes, thank you, Verna, for such a beautiful presentation. You spoke about finding your purpose and having that personal relationship with God,
Yes.
and it's amazing because you speak about you always consulting God.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so if you were talking to somebody who is still trying to find their purpose and maybe probably also dealing with their faith, and how do you marry the faith and the purpose, your life purpose and your faith, in terms of getting direction, divine direction, if I were to say so?
Oh wow, that's I won't say that's a hard one, but for me, I just always go to God for everything. Now, as far as faith goes, I actually meditate on it, on whatever it is that I'm trying to do and having the faith to do it. But I'm more of a risk taker. I just jump out there knowing that He got me because you know the word speaks about that. Where it says, "Now faith." It's the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen, right? So you got to have that
Mhm.
right now faith. Even though you don't see it, it's going to take place because you know it's going to take place because it tells us now faith is the substance of things hoped for. It's the assurance that it's going to take place, right? So that is one of the scriptures that I really, really like. One of my favorites, although there's quite a few. But as far as faith goes, and I have to really be calm because I get happy in a minute. But I really truly believe that Hebrews 11:1, I believe it is, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, even though you don't see it. As far as um, having that purpose, just ask Him. God is such a wonderful God. He will give it to you in ways that you may not notice. It's like, okay, God, what do you like? Just this past week, I'm asking. So you want me to join this church? Why? Why? Because I really didn't want to be there. But I'm like, so you really want me to join this church? So why? And it was so ironic. It was just odd that his answer was a yes in the way our service went, if that makes sense. It is like I saw him saying, "This is where I need you to be," because I'm like, it's not what I'm used to. Although I grew up in a Baptist church, I spent over 20 plus years in a Kojic church, and that's where I got most of my studies, my learning, and learning the word and learning all of this. That's where I got that from. And so that is what I had become accustomed to. So I'm like, okay, I talk to God like I'm talking to you. Okay, God, what's up? You're going to have to tell me something. You're going to have to make this make sense to me. And I believe that we can talk to God like that. I mean, and we were studying Job too, as well, as last Sunday. And so that's how you're able to bring those two together. It's always good to have a scripture that you can fall back on and that makes sense with what you're going through. I mean, God would just give them to you. He drops them in your spirit, like, here you go. He's so wonderful in doing that and making it very relatable to what's going on in your life at the present time, if that makes sense.
Definitely makes sense. And sometimes when things are falling apart, they're falling into place. I
Mm-hmm.
think I shared with you the experience I've been going
Mm.
through lately with things that were supposed to be fantastic, and now they've just taken a completely different detour. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
going back to that and just asking, okay, am I going the wrong way? What am I supposed to do right now? And just tuning into that and trusting that although it looks like it's all falling apart, it's coming together. The pieces are falling into place the right way.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah.
it most definitely
Awesome.
did seem like that at times.
Katinda, would you like to jump in here? Comments, questions, any feedback for Ms. Verna before we move on to our next speaker? Ashley, welcome. Lovely to see you on the call as well.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever everyone is. Thank you so much for being here today. And also, I'm glad to listen and learn. And yes, so I just joined when Benna was talking a little bit more towards the end. So I didn't quite get the whole presentation. But I think I got touched by a lot of the parts about faith and God and purpose. That was really amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Absolutely awesome. I see Miss Ruth has dropped off again. The poor girl's struggling with electricity today. Miss Ashley, I know this is a subject that you have a passion around. You're a woman of faith. I'm not sure how much of the last presentation you managed to catch up with. Do you want to unmute and say a few words before we move on to our next speaker? It looks like Ashley's frozen as well. Okay, we're having some serious technical issues this morning. So, Ms. Verna, thank you so much. It was wonderful having you with us. And please feel free to stay and listen to the next speaker as long as you like. It's always nice when I have a panel of women. They say that when you have a story and there's no one there to hear it, does anybody really hear it?
Right.
So feel free to stay with us as long as you like. And if you need to go, we totally understand as well.
Okay.
So it gives me great pleasure to introduce our next speaker. Miss Katinda Ndola is a celebrated community influencer, a speaker, a mentor, and passionate advocate for personal development. Through her online programs, her ebooks, videos, speeches, and workshops, Katinda provides the tools that help people discover their full potential and lead happier, more fulfilling lives. Her work focuses on some of today's most crucial issues, including women and relationships, fear, self esteem, self love, and domestic violence. Throughout her childhood as a young adult, Katinda struggled with low self esteem. So she embarked on her own journey of self development. Her personal research and hard work in several intensive coaching programs enabled her to discover herself and become a master of her own life. Inspired by her own transformation, Katinda has dedicated herself to sharing this knowledge and helping others realize their greatest potential, no matter where they currently are in their lives. She's based in Melbourne, Australia, and also offers limited one on one personal coaching. She is best known for her willingness to listen and offer emotional support and life strategies that, especially for women who have little access to information and services. Wonderful to have you on our platform, my sister. Welcome to the tribe.
Thank
The
you.
floor
Thank
is
you.
yours. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow, sometimes it gets so confusing. Where do you start? There's so much. So yes, I'm Katinda Dollar, and I am in Melbourne, Australia. I like to, I guess, say I'm blessed to be 18 years old with 30 years experience. And before I began my personal development journey, I believed that love was going to cure my void and unhappiness. So I was one of those girls when I was 10 years old, I got bullied at school. And I started exhibiting behaviors of not wanting to go to school because I got bullied. I was skinny. I was tall. I had short hair. So the kids used to tease me, call me daddy long legs, say I look like a boy. And that made me cry a lot. And so as a result of that, I was a really happy girl. And I started really being very sad and not talking about anything to anyone because I didn't know how to articulate what I was feeling. But what happened with that is for many years, I didn't say anything. And I started lying about going to school, told my parents I was sick, didn't go to school for a long time because of that. And then until one day I had to say the truth. And this is what my parents decided to change schools. Because as a child, you don't really know what you're going through. You don't know what you're feeling. You don't even know if anyone is going to believe you. So first forward 20 years later or 30 years later, I would say I lived for over 30 years with low self-esteem. And I guess like anybody would know, low self-esteem is one of those things that if you don't overcome it, you tend to exhibit very weird behaviors. And so over the years, I was in primary school, I went to high school, and in high school, I didn't make a lot of friends. I guess, again, as I said, I was bullied, so I didn't feel very confident in myself. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't think I was worthy. And what I did is, while I was in high school, I found that I started joining a lot of social clubs. So to just get myself out there. And I don't really know what made me do that. I think it was just the environment. But then when I finished high school, the interesting part is I saw an ad on TV with models and everything, but I didn't really know what that world was about because I didn't love myself. I didn't like myself. I didn't like what I saw in the mirror. So I took the punt and actually called one of the agencies to see if I could be a model. And yeah, so I got in that and I got the training and I started to build my self-esteem, my confidence. I got a lot of work from that, which obviously boosted a lot of my confidence. And as time goes by, because I still had I call it self-inflicted neglect. I didn't know how to get help. And I believe this is something a lot of us don't even know. Like if you're going through self-esteem, is that a therapy issue? Do you even think you need to go for therapy? I had no idea. And as I was doing modeling with a lot of other girls, that is a very competitive industry. And there's a lot of girls who are skinnier than you, more prettier than you. So there's always conflict. When you look in the mirror, you compare yourself with other girls. And because I was not strong enough, I didn't have thick skin at that point. I didn't know that I should not be comparing myself with anyone else, but I was doing that a lot. And that was really killing me inside. So with time, I got better, but life has a way of teaching you different things. Because I still had low self-esteem and I had not healed from that trauma, I found myself attracting or being attracted to guys or people, relationships that were not healthy for me. And a lot of the relationships were very toxic because I didn't define my requirements. I didn't define my boundaries. I didn't even know that was a thing. So I ended up in places that I should never been. I mean, I look back and maybe I needed to learn the lessons. So there's a lot of that. And thinking about it today, I look back and I wonder, where would anyone go to get this kind of direction or advice? Like when you get into a relationship, what is it you need to be looking for? How do you know what to do, how to speak, what to wear, where to go? Who talks about these things? I never had that exposure. Nobody talks about it. Coming from Africa, relationships are very hush hush. Nobody really tells you what happens. People just go out and do it. And so you just see monkey do, monkey see, monkey do. So you just do things, but really, you don't really know why you're doing it. And then when you get in fire, you don't know why you're always in fire because you've never stopped and paused and looked and seen what is this all about. So really, for me, having all this low self-esteem, body image issues, lack of confidence, and trying to mask that in modeling was a good thing because I faked it really good. Like I know they say, fake it till you make it. I did a really good job at faking it. I looked confident. I had a business for many years, like doing hair salon, bar, restaurant. I was confident. Anybody you ask would say I was very confident, but deep inside, I was dying slowly. I had low self-esteem. I didn't believe in myself. I just thought, I'm just doing what everybody else does, just survive. And it's until I changed my life based on the fact that I got older, life got in the way, more things started to happen. You know, as you get older, you have relationship breakdowns, you have business, you lose money, just things start to happen, you lose family. And for me, I think the biggest trigger was when I turned 40 and my relationship broke down. Is when I realized I need to really get on my life and change things around. And having a hair salon, I listened to a lot of women talking about, of course, low self-esteem, just like I was, but I didn't confine and say, yes, I had the same problem. But a lot of them complained a lot about their relationships. And I thought, this is interesting that I'm here to make them look pretty and look beautiful, and still inward, they didn't feel secure. They didn't feel good enough. They didn't feel like they're worthy of anything. And I was that person too, but I never said anything. So I just listened and I thought, there must be a better way. We can't all be struggling with the same thing because we're all similar. How do we solve this problem? How can we help each other? Or how can I even get into a space that I could actually work on myself, as well as once I learn what I need to learn, go out there and share the knowledge. And so for me, my journey started with obviously my relation breaking down, dragging my kid into this mess of, you know, separation, changing houses, changing schools, changing so many things. But what I realized for myself is I didn't allow myself to sit in self-pity because I realized I'm 40, life begins at 40, like they say. And also I know the statement, you're not a woman until you're 40. So I thought it's a good time to do some drastic changes. And the reason that came to me is because enough was enough. I was just sitting there not knowing what more direction to take, which way to go, who to talk to. I didn't trust anybody. Life looked like this was it. But if I didn't have a kid, probably I don't know which way I would have gone. But because I had that child, so he was my reason for being. And so what happened is I was sitting on a computer one day, just I don't know whether I was inspired or was feeling desperate. I can't even articulate what that feeling was. And I was just searching, seeking. I don't know what I was seeking for. I don't know what I was looking for. I was just out there seeking, searching. I prayed a lot. I did meditation. I did all those things, but I guess you still have to take inspired action to get things moving. And so while I was sitting on the computer and not knowing what I was searching, what I was looking for, I saw this pop up. And sometimes things work in mysterious ways. And this pop up was for a seminar. And this seminar was a thing I hadn't done for years. So I had no idea. Why do I need to go to a seminar? What's the benefit? What's the value? And so what happened is I took the risk anyway, and I thought I got nothing to lose. So I clicked on this link. It was a seminar where Sir Richard Branson was coming to Melbourne, and there was a whole day seminar with other speakers and everything. So I figured out maybe this is what I'm seeking. So, they say, ask and it shall be given to you. Seek and you shall find. So I decided to go to this seminar, and that seminar changed my life in a very big way because it opened my doors in a different way. So at that seminar, what happened is I got the privilege to be invited to dinner and drinks with Sir Richard Branson with other people. And in that space, it was so electrifying. There were people with so much fire. They were just so excited. They were so ambitious. They were so, I don't even know what to say. The energy was so amazing. And I wanted to be in that energy. I didn't want to sit there thinking, oh my gosh, my life is so messed up. So I thought, how do I stay around these people? I know Jim Rohn says you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And so I thought this was amazing. I felt amazing around these people. I felt I was getting so much value, knowledge, business acumen, just the whole thing. And so from that seminar, what happened is there was a series of seminars after that. And the next seminar that came up was Tony Robbins, UPW, which is Unleash the Power Within in Sydney. So I took the punt, did that. And while I was doing all these things, I met my publisher, and then I started writing my book. I was open to the world. I was open to opportunity. I was not closed. I allowed myself, I gave myself permission to just be and just go with the path that I felt was good for me. And I was always thinking I wanted to write a book, like many people would have thought about that so many years. You think you want to write a book, you don't know what to write a book about, you don't know where to start. So for me, all those seminars triggered everything that I wanted. And I had the right people, right energy. Everything was just so amazing. So that's how my journey with personal development started. And now after going through the UPW, Tony Robbins, and I got involved with a lot of coaches, I got a lot of mentors. I realized there was a bigger world out there. And really, it was not all about me. It was for me to go out, discover myself, find out who I am, because I think what happens with all of us is sometimes we get lost and we forget who we are. And once you don't know who you are, I feel life does not go very well because you're always confused. You don't have clarity. You don't center yourself. You don't even know whether you're coming or going. So I went into that path of finding out, who am I? What's my purpose? Why am I here? All those things. And that was also the trigger that also in my book, I talk about those things. Who am I? Why am I here? What's my purpose? And what I find is writing my book, for those who are watching this, for me was a life-changing thing in itself, because I had never concentrated so much in a project like this one. So the book for me was very profound. It changed a lot of things for me. It made me think critically. It made me think and self-analyze myself. It made me realize that there's a bigger life out there. There's people's hearts to touch. There's a bigger world to impact. And I believe my book was just my business card into this coaching space, personal development, because I believe it's a big thing. And a lot of us are carrying trauma from childhood, trauma that we've not dealt with, trauma that we don't even know about. It's sitting in your subconscious mind. And I believe my thing is, when I was also going through my separation, divorce, I allowed myself to not judge myself. I went out for therapy. When I went to speak to a counselor, I speak to a psychologist, I went to see a hypnotherapist. I even went to my doctor and I said, I need to see a psychiatrist because I just wanted to make sure that I'm okay. And a lot of us, most of the times, we're afraid of therapy. We've got the stigma. But trust me, therapy is good. It's just like, well, how I look at therapy, it's almost like coaching as well. So it's almost like you have to have a therapist, you have to have a coach. The same way you have to take your car for service, because if you don't take your car for service, it will break down. So a lot of it about therapy, it doesn't have to be because you have something wrong with you. It's basically just maintenance, your well-being. It's all about maintenance, and that's what I believe. And so coming back to coaching as well, I believe coaching is also ongoing because we're always growing every day. You don't go backwards, you're going forward. Time is moving forward. So I think coaching again is that thing that you do to just check in with yourself to see where you're at, what you need to improve, how you need to grow, what impact you need to give to the world. And so in my journey, I found that because I had so many life experiences and listening to a lot of women complaining, I felt compelled to actually be the change that I want to see in the world, like Gandhi says. And so after going through my personal development, my self-awareness, learning the tricks of the trade of how to be a human being and how to just be a good human being, I decided to go out in the world and start speaking, telling people you can love yourself. You don't have to wait for somebody else to love you first. It all starts with you. Because I know there's a thing where we all think we're looking for something outside of us. People wait until they have that good job or they get married or to change life. You don't have to wait for that. Every day is a good day to change your life, to make your life better. And really, I believe in going inwards, loving yourself, look in the mirror, ask yourself some deep questions. Questions like, do you love yourself in the mirror? And if you feel you're not sure, ask yourself, why not? What is it that makes you feel not enough? Because that's another thing a lot of us feel. We don't feel enough. We don't feel good enough. You get an opportunity, you think, oh, that's not for people like me. It's always for somebody else. It always happens to other people. No, 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 no. This is for you too. You are in this world for a reason. That's why you're a blessing to everybody. And I know there's always, I think it's Les Brown who said this about how you don't want to go to the grave with your music still in you. You want to leave your music here with us. You want to leave all your gifts. You want to leave all your books that you want to write, your music, your creation, whatever, all the creativity you've got. You want to give it to the world. You don't want to take it with you, because once you take it with you, then we lose all that beauty that you were blessed with. So that's just another thing I believe, like when you know something, share it. Knowledge is not for you to keep. Knowledge is for you to share. And so what I wanted to also just talk about here a little bit is about relationships, because I feel this is all about relationships. Like right here on this platform, it's building relationships. It's letting people know we're here. We can support you. We can do a lot of things. And for me as a person, I found over the years, I failed in a lot of my relationships because of my low self-esteem. And I'm not ashamed to say that, because I know that is what most of us go through and we don't even know it. So I'm a big believer in upping your game. So if you know you've got low self-esteem, you need to work on that, because if you don't work on it, you'll always have bad relationships with your friends, at your workplaces, romantic relationships. There's always going to be a problem, because low self-esteem is insecurity. You feel you're not worthy. You feel you're not good enough. You don't feel you deserve. So it's a question of, please start working on your self-esteem. If you don't feel great, stop and think, why don't you feel great? Why do I feel like this? And especially when you get into romantic relationships, it's critical, because that's when the cracks show. Because what happens is people get to relationships without thinking about the basics. Again, nobody teaches you these things most of the time. We just take a chance and just end up in a relationship without asking the key questions that are very important. So I wanted to just say a little bit about relationships here, like things that you need to consider. Just a few things, not so much. Things that you would like, maybe you could consider before you get into relationships. And this is just quick 4 questions or 4 things you can ask yourself. So what is the purpose of your relationship? Are you getting a relationship because you're looking for fun times? Is it because you're looking for security? Is it because you're looking for companionship? I think it's critical because people just get in and just hope things work out. I think it's good to stop and ask yourself that question: what is the purpose of the relationship you want to get into? The other question that is very deep is, would you go on a date with yourself? Now, most people probably would be afraid of that. And that's almost to say, are you who you're looking for? You know, there was actually a statement by James Allen. He said, you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So then what qualities are you looking for in a lover, in another person? You know, you have to be third person, because you can be a person with so much low self-esteem, insecurities, and hope to attract a Mr. Right or Mrs. Right. And a lot of people have that. We think we want to attract somebody who's nice and all these things, but are we those? Do we have the characteristics of the person we want to attract? So that is something really critical. I think most people should realize. You need to ask yourself those questions. And it goes back to self-love. How much do you love yourself? Because you can't love another if you don't know how to love you. And also, another thing I would love you to consider is, how did you feel with your emotions and feelings growing up? This, I find, is a question. Again, it goes back to self-esteem, your trauma, what happened, what are you still going through, what have you not still worked on, and what do you need to actually work on? Because I believe in life, every day is a new day, and every day is a new day to begin your life, in the sense that you can go for therapy, you can find a coach, you can speak to a friend. If something is bothering you, don't sit there. You're not alone. We are all here. It's a big planet with a lot of people. And I know the reason I'm bringing this up is because I was that person who didn't know any of these things. And I got in relationships for all the wrong reasons. I had no idea. I needed to define what I was looking for, what I wanted. I didn't know nothing about all that. And that's why I thought it's important to bring that up, just because if I went through it, I'm sure a lot of other people have gone through that as well. And the other one is, what values are important to you in a relationship? Do you like honesty, integrity, good values, intellect, open-minded, kind, people who are grateful? You know, again, that is not something that we should take for granted, because you want people who don't lie. You want people with good values. You want people who are clean. You want people who are really have integrity, because sometimes life gives you anything. If you don't ask for what you need, and if you don't become that person, you'll end up in situations which are not pleasant, and then wonder why it always happens to you. So what I want to say here too, I want to just give you like 2 rules of attracting love. So I don't say finding love, because I think finding love, we don't go out to find love. We actually attract love, because you become the person you want to find. So whatever you're seeking is seeking you already. And I think the 2 things I want to say: you won't be happy with a partner unless you're happy on your own. Now, a lot of people, again, as I say, we go outward. We're thinking, I'll be happy when this happens. I'll be happy when that happens. But it all starts within. You have to start with your self-awareness, self-esteem, self-love. How much do you value yourself? Start validating yourself. Look in the mirror and say, I love you, because you love you. Because if you don't love you, why should somebody else say, I love you to you? And I think one bittersweet lesson I've learned over the years is that you can change people. You know, when you get into relationships, people tend to have this idea that, oh, I like this person, but I think when they're with me, they will change this and that because I don't like that about them. I think that is a really good thing to think about, because I've been in situations where I also thought the same, that I don't like people who smoke, but then I get into a relationship and I think, oh, when I get involved with him, I'll change him from smoking to non-smoking. It doesn't work. People only change if they want to, not because of you. So that's one bittersweet lesson I learned the hard way. Never, ever, ever get involved with anybody thinking you can change them at all. Yeah. Am I time up? You're muted. You're muted, Gertrude.
A very pivotal topic you've touched on this morning. I can so feel that, what you have brought us this morning is a slap in the face, really, a wake-up call for all of us to remember to focus on us first, that you need to have a full cup before you go out and search for love or search for the other half, as we as we like to call it. Absolutely amazing. We'll go around the room and give you some feedback, questions. Ladies, please unmute yourselves. Katinda has really woken us up with a bit of fire this morning. We'll start with you, Miss Ruth.
Thank you, Gertrude. Thank you so much, Katinda, for being part of our tribe. And what an awesome presentation again. Today is just beautiful. What a second day, Gertrude. Okay, so you touched on self-love, self-development, self-awareness, and you touched on relationships. I've got so many questions on all those areas. Because you spoke about when you were growing up in Africa, and relationships were never talked about. And then, so is that where you are now? Are you coaching in relationships? Are you coaching people how to behave, what to say, what to look for in a partner, or
Yes.
whatever?
Yes. So as I said, that for me was a trigger based on my life experience. I did a lot of things because I didn't know anything. There were no role models. Nobody talks. Your parents don't tell you. So your friends mislead you. If you get it from friends, they mislead you because they tell you what they think they know from the street. And what they know from the street is not really good stuff, because half the time you get in fire. So for me, I realized a lot of women, and this is not only for young women, even older women, we haven't had that lesson. So we always learning the bad things over and over. You find people that I know that constantly going through relationships with a similar type of person. So whether they're toxic, they're alcoholic, or whatever it is that's going on, they always attract the same type. Why is that? It's because they haven't worked on themselves. And a lot of women also have this tendency, when you're feeling lonely, desperate, or broke, you think a relationship will solve those problems. And that's actually doesn't work. So it's all about working on yourself first. So I teach how to, things to make yourself whole. You're not going out there to be completed by anyone. You're going out there to be complemented by somebody else. So those are some of the things I educate and teach.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We'll go around the room. We'll start with you, Ashley.
She keeps dropping off as well.
So
maybe she's in Africa.
No. She's having issues like you. We'll go to Miss Verna while we wait for Ashley.
Thank you, Katina, for an awesome presentation. But you began to talk about how you bullied in school and how you turned that around by going out and for presenting yourself and getting information. I really thought that was really smart, because most of the time I've never known anyone to actually do that. They find a way to hide, but not a way to improve themselves or a way to gain the confidence that they needed. So I thought that was really, really a great thing. I thought that was really different, but apparently it worked.
I faked the confidence for a long time.
Oh,
yes. I faked that because a lot of people thought that I was very confident, but I realized, fake it till you make it. So I had to be that thing that I wanted to be. And I don't even know where I got that, because, sometimes you have to, it's like affirmations and everything. You have to always be in that space that you have to have the feeling of what you want to feel for it to actually happen. So I don't know how I got that, but I just somehow did it.
Yeah. That was a lot of courage to even fake it while you make it, because most of the time a person that's being bullied don't think like that. They don't think, well, let me fake confidence. They actually run to hide or be trying to dodge the bully. I'm speaking from experience. When you dodge someone that's bullying you, you don't actually think to have confidence in any type of capacity whatsoever. So that was very clever on your part.
It's interesting to say that, because I don't even know what happened. I don't know how the trigger was for me to have that confidence to try to do that. I can't remember why that happened and whatever happened, but I know I just thought I have to try something.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Fake it till you make it.
Miss Ashley has dropped off again, saying she's struggling with her connection. All right, ladies. So without further ado, we will move on to our next speaker. I was hoping that Ashley would, yeah, let's see. We'll play a different video and give her an opportunity to come back in. We're going to now move to Alison Arnoff. Ruth, would you like to read Alison's bio while I queue up her video? And make sure you unmute yourself, Ruth.
Yes, sure. Let me find her bio. I don't have Alison's bio. Did we ever play? We haven't played Marianne?
It's here. I'll read it. I thought you would quickly grab it on the form. So Alison Arnoff is an impact-driven leader who not only meets goals, but is powerfully driven to create a broader and lasting impact. Success to an impact-driven leader includes developing a new generation of leaders, being a role model, increasing women and minorities in leadership in tech, and getting on boards, especially nonprofits, to increase reach. So those are some of the things that she does. She focuses on influence, on communication, and the use of time. So she puts together an amazing presentation for us this morning. And Alison, I know you couldn't be here with us, but thank you for this contribution. We're really excited that you are a part of our tribe. I know you just sent me a message on LinkedIn. So I'm just queuing up the video and then we will play it in a minute. Here we go. And share screen.
Hi, everybody. Alison Arnoff here, and welcome to our talk today on the 5 B's of entrepreneurial self-care. First, let's talk about what is self-care and why it matters, and a little bit about what's different about that and mindfulness. So self-care is typically what you need to do to mentally, emotionally, and physically take care of yourself, to make sure you're healthy, you're happy, you're rested, you live longer, you manage your stress. All of those things are self-care. Mindfulness is your ability to be completely present and aware of what's going on, focused on the person in front of you without the clattering in your head. So I'm curious why you think this is important to you as a founder, as an entrepreneur, as a human. Think about how more self-care and little mindfulness can have a positive impact for you. So before we get into the 5 B's, let me tell you a little bit about myself. First, the boring stuff you can read. I'm, long career in tech, 30-year career in tech. Started with a master's in engineering. I've worked for 7 startups. Never my idea, darn it. But I've had 6 exits. And then I left in 2016 to go back to school. I'm a certified executive coach, and I'm a strategy consultant for B2B startups. Just some fun things about me is I'm a former Division I swimmer and triathlete. I'm a big adventure traveler. The top photo is day 3 of hiking the Inca Trail in Machu Picchu, and I'm a shark diver. And that's me on the right, and I took that photo of a lemon shark on the left. Maybe not fun, but noteworthy is I near-death survivor in 2020, not related to COVID, and had to fight to get my life back. I'm also an open ocean stand-up paddleboarder out there with the dolphins and the whales occasionally. And I'm an amateur photographer. But now let's get back to the 5 B's, but now you know who's telling you about it. So the next one first thing we're going to talk about is your beliefs. So your beliefs are the way you talk to yourself or think about yourself, but also the habits that get created because of the way you talk to yourself. So Shirzad Hamini had developed this belief in that we have mental fitness. We need mental fitness to be able to have self-care. And so mental fitness is really the ability to respond from the positive vantage point, the positive side of your brain, versus a negative mindset. And it has a bunch of advantages. First, that will give you peak performance or peak outcomes when you're looking at things with a different side of your brain. It gives you peace of mind. It's also healthy relationships, because when you're kinder to yourself, it does translate into your relationships. So what gets in the way of that mental fitness, of responding from that positive mindset? What Shazad talks about is there are 10 saboteurs, they're gremlins, or the voices in your head that try to prevent you from having the progress or the outcomes that you want. The one we all have in common is the judge. And I think you know that voice, that judge that might look at the mirror and not say nice things to yourself. I grew up in a household where we were encouraged, quote unquote, to be high performers for excellence. And so I developed a lot of self-judgment when I feel like I fall short. Well, this judge has 9 accomplices, and they can range from the hyperachiever, which is one of my top ones, where you measure your worth by your achievements. I'm also a stickler, which is the perfectionist. You might be a pleaser, where you feel like you have to make everybody happy first. You might be a avoider. When there's tough conversations or tough things to get done, you find another way to do it. You might be a controller, where you feel in control when you're in control, right? There's 9 different ones. And at the end of the presentation, I'll give you a link so you can email me and I'll get you the survey, and you can see which one of these apply to you and then how to. So another question for you that might seem off the cuff here is pain good for you? Well, sometimes it is, right? When you put your hand on a hot stove, it tells you it's hot and it takes it off. If you didn't get pain, your hand would just sit there and get destroyed, get burned. So negative emotions are kind of like a pain, and they are helpful for like a second, like on the stove, when they're an alert signal. Oh, I'm in this negative emotion. But when you're staying in the negative emotion, it just stops your ability to see things clearly. You don't respond with things like empathy and curiosity or laser focused action. And that's because you're responding from the negative emotion, the negative voice of the saboteur. The counter to the saboteur is the sage. And that sage comes from a different part of your brain that is associated with the positive emotions, peace and calm, the clear-headed laser focus, creativity, and the big picture. So when you operate from the sage perspective, it believes that every circumstance or everything that happens can be turned into a gift or opportunity. It's kind of like everything happens for a reason, maybe not to that extreme, but there's always an opportunity. So a victim saboteur might say, why does everything happen to me? Where a sage might say, why did this happen to me and what can I learn from it? You might get, completely different responses, completely different outcomes. So one of the questions is, which perspective is true? The saboteur says this is bad, and the sage says this is a gift. Well, it's a simple answer. Whichever you believe comes true. But to do that, you have to develop your mental fitness. And to do that, it's really the ability to shift from that negative to the positive voices, even in tough challenges. But there's just like going to the gym, fitness takes exercise and it takes consistency. And at the end of this presentation with that link, I'll be able to share with you more about it. But let's move on to our next B of self-care, and that is boundaries. And boundaries are the physical, emotional, and mental limits we put to protect ourselves. Excuse me. So what are we protecting ourselves from? Well, stress, overwhelm, and a whole list of things that we'll talk about. But I break boundaries into 3 types. The first are time boundaries, and that's saying, I don't work nights or weekends. I'm done at 6 o'clock. My phone gets off, notifications get turned off. It means you take vacations and you enjoy those vacations. And you take your sick time when you're not feeling well. It also means you give yourself quiet work time and say, for the next 2 hours, my phone is off. I have a do not disturb on the door if we're working at home, which a lot of us are these days. So those are time boundaries. The second are volume, and that's when you say no to more. To say, I don't have enough room on my plate right now to do that, or the work I'm going to do is going to suffer if I do that. So to say no. And the other option for volume, you can say yes, but what's the clear value? Can you still get your other work done? Is there a value to you, the company, the career that's worth saying yes to? And the third type of volume boundary is to delegate, to take things off your plate and put them on other things. Delegation is to be the ability to say, does this need to be uniquely me? Now, if you're a controller, it's going to be even harder, but does this need to be uniquely me, or can somebody else do this and do it well? And I can focus on the things that need to be uniquely me. The third type of boundary are duration. And that's like negotiating delivery times. When I was in sales, when I first was in sales, I wanted to promise everything tomorrow because I wanted to show that I was good and I'll take care of them. But it's important to ask people, I know you want this as soon as possible. When do you really need it? Like, what is your deliverable from this information? And can we work backwards from there so that we can negotiate something that works for everybody? The other duration boundary is bounding conversations. That's a mouthful. When someone calling and say, do you have time to talk? To say, I only have 5 minutes, or at 4 o'clock tonight, I will only have 15 minutes, and to keep to that. So you train people first off that you only have so much time, and you make sure that, especially if you're a pleaser, you set that boundary so you can move forward. So those are our 3 types of boundaries. And let's just refresh on why they matter. Well, self-care, and we talked about self-respect. If you respect yourself, you train others to respect you, and you increase your effectiveness because you're focused on the things that you're supposed to be doing when you need to do them, and not having too much spread too thin and nothing being done well. So let's look at the flip side of that. What happens when you don't set boundaries? Well, stress, you'll get burnt out, probably some resentment or frustration or anger. Your quality would drop because, again, too much, not doing anything well. Your health might suffer. You might not eat well. You might not exercise. You'll have trouble sleeping. Your relationships suffer. I was often that person that would be out to dinner and I had to have my phone out because of my job. Sorry, my boss might call. And basically what I was telling people I was out with, that there is something more important than them at that moment. Now, once in a while that can happen ahead of time. You can say, I apologize, I have to have my phone out. But when it's a chronic habit, that's when you know you're having trouble setting boundaries. So why are we scared to set boundaries? Well, we don't want to be looked at as difficult, or we're lazy, or we're not a team player, or we're not committed, or we're flattered to be asked and valued. I just recently got challenged with this one. This amazing organization I'm part of asked me to run one of their monthly calls, and I couldn't. I do a lot of pro bono work in my time, and I didn't see how this helped my business in the moment. I have a lot of things on my plate, and I just said, thank you. I'm very flattered to be asked. Right now, this isn't the time. If you need help on this in the future, please approach me again. It might be a better time then. The other thing, we have trouble setting boundaries if we worry there's repercussions if we say no. Some of those we talked about on top. And the last one, which a lot of women have trouble with, it's countered how we're raised. We're supposed to be generous. We're supposed to be helpful. If you can do something to help people, you do. But remember, just like on an airplane, you still have to put your mask on first before you help somebody else. So you have to decide if any of these things are going to prevent you from putting your mask on first. What else are we scared of? Well, sometimes I had a client that their only value was being available all the time, and didn't realize it wasn't their availability, it was the quality of work that made them valuable. We self-sabotage because sometimes we're more scared of success than we are of failure. And that's a whole nother talk. Sometimes we're best friends with being overwhelmed and we don't know how to break up. We're just used to being in crisis mode all the time. And other times this can be communication. We want to set the boundaries and we don't know the words, and we have to figure out how to communicate in a way that we feel confident to set those boundaries. Now let's get to the next B of self-care, which is balance. And balance isn't about both sides of the scale being equal. It's about letting everything flow and coexist together in a way that just feels good and easy. So, for example, as a founder, I did this pitch for some founders, and it's like your whole self created the company, or your whole self decided to go out on your own. And yet you neglect your whole self in running it. It deprives your company and your efforts of all of your creativity, all of you that you can bring to it. Other aspects of balance, which are me time, are getting enough sleep, good nutrition, time with family and friends, exercise, hobbies. Volunteer work's a great way, gets you in gratitude, gets you to appreciate things. And think about, what do you need to have more balance for your self-care? The other question is, how do you know when you're out of balance? What are those things you need to be looking for so you can catch yourself before you keep getting further and further? And how do I get out of balance? And then what do I need to do to get back into balance? So those are 2 questions that are important for you to understand. The fourth B of self-care is to breathe. And that's just really about stopping that spiral. That mental fitness we talked about is one way to do that. And the other ways is just stopping and taking a few deep breaths to slow the runaway brain. I've incorporated that recently because my brain is can break a lot of world records and how fast it goes. So I've learned to slow down and take a few deep breaths and get recentered, and it's made a huge difference. So for you, how do you get back to being present? I suggested a couple ways here, but you need to think about, for you, it could be taking a quick walk, it could be putting on some music, just closing your eyes. What is it that you need to do to get back? And our fifth B of self-care are the best practices. And these are the routines you set up for yourself to integrate self-care. So one of the things to do is communicate your boundaries and needs around self-care to your friends, your families, your colleagues. It could be having a self-care community. If you have other entrepreneurs locally or virtually, find a self-care accomplice, someone that you can check in with monthly and see how you're meeting your self-care goals. And how can you engage with your community to support you and your entrepreneur community? Mouthful, guys. How can you engage with your community to support you in your journey? So self-care is something you sometimes have to ask for. And just by making people aware of it, they probably want to help you, and they probably want to develop their own self-care routines as well. So what I hope from all of this is that you think about, what is my plan for self-care? What are my beliefs that I might need to work on? The boundaries I need to set? How do I breathe? What does balance look like? And what are my best practices? So from here, think about what a new sorry guys, it's late in the day. New awareness do I have? What am I going to add moving forward? What am I going to be what am I going to remove? And lastly, what am I grateful for? Because gratitude is a huge part of self-care. So if you go to idaretobeaware.com, I'll get you a link so you can figure out what your saboteurs are, and I'll follow up with some emails on how you can start developing your mental fitness. So thank you for your time. Keep in touch. Here's my contact information, and I look forward to hearing from you on how this might have helped you with your self-care journey. Take care. Bye-bye.
Wonderful presentation there. Thank you so much, Alison, for gracing us with your presence. She's very systematic in her approach to all of the issues she touched on. But I have to say, one of the biggest take homes that I got from that presentation is all around boundaries and being able to set those boundaries around yourself. You know, sometimes we take on so much trying to be nice to people, trying to please everybody, and it doesn't always work. So I think that for me was the biggest take home, and learning to delegate some things as well, not thinking that I have to do everything, nobody else can do this. I think that's another crucial part of my learning is delegate, delegate, delegate. Let's go around the room, ladies. Give us some feedback, starting with you, Miss Ruth.
Wow. She's very systematic, she like and just takes you through everything, like really this is what you need to do. And she talks about the voices or the different personas that we are dealing with in our everyday life, the judge, the different things, the hyperachiever. And you realize, yeah, that's true. When I'm failing or when I think I'm failing, it's the judge that will come and says, because you haven't achieved this, so you have failed. And then she talks about the boundaries of, obviously, like saying no, I've taken too much, or can we try it? If you still need help in maybe in a week's time, when I have time, I'll help you, but not right away. I can't do it. She's so right. She says we were raised to be nice and to never say no, to be helpful. So we just keep on taking on a lot of work and assignments, But what a wonderful presentation. I really want to do that survey. I want to see where I fall in terms of the personas.
It will be interesting, right?
It will be
Interesting.
interesting, yeah.
Ms. Verna, unmute yourself.
For me, I like the way she talked about the boundaries because oftentimes we don't, just like Bruce just said, we have so much on our plate that we don't ever say no. And it takes a lot to get to that point, I think. But when you
It
do,
sure
you
does.
yeah. But when you get to that point, I think at some point in our lives as women, it's like it always happens when we turn 40. It's like we've had it's like about that around that age we have had enough, and so now we have the strength to say no,
Yeah.
or we have psyched ourselves out to say I'm grown for real this time. I'm grown. It's like we get real grown at age 40, and we just like no, I don't want to do it. So by the time you get my age 60, you be like, yeah, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that.
I
You
think
get
that's
yeah,
good.
give yourself permission.
Yeah. And that assertiveness comes through at a certain age as well. When
Mm-hmm.
you're younger, you're so busy trying to please everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So that becomes an issue.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay. So we're not going to play Maryam's video yet, Ruth, mostly because I thought I could play it from the drive, but it's forcing me to download. So we're getting a bit of
Okay.
feedback from Facebook. Nina is joining us in Brisbane, Australia. Good to see you, Nina. She said it's good
Hey,
to hear your
Nina.
discussion. We had some feedback from Coral, I think, is in South Africa, Ruth. Correct me if I'm
Yes,
wrong.
he's in South Africa.
Thank you for tuning in. So we'll have to jump to another speaker while we are downloading Miriam's video. And I was thinking maybe we could have Petronelia Hornwater. She's from Germany. She is an artist, so this is going to be a completely different presentation. And when I read her brief bio that's on her website, she says, art reflects the divine. To me, this is not just a statement. The divine is an essential part of my life story, which is reflected in my personality, my lifestyle, my art, and consciousness. I am, and therefore, authentically spiritually grounded. In my perception, the divine is a space within me that I call love. In this state of purity, I'm able to see beyond and recognize all embracingly. It grounds me and at the same time opens up the aesthetics of the visible and reflects the voice of the divine. The pure energy resonates in a work of art like a sound work filled with colors and is represented in its pure and natural essence. Petronelia, thank you for gracing our stage with your presence all the way in Germany. I actually know the part of Germany you are from. Bavaria is a place I visited before. So I'm going to share your video. Thank you again for being a part of the Herstory online movement. So this is Petronelia coming to us from Germany.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Gertrude and Masche, for inviting me to become a speaker on your and also taking part at your circle. Who am I? I'm Petronella Hohenwarter. I'm turning 57 soonest, and I'm a German artist. I actually were studying long time ago social pedagogic, and I were working in the field as a kindergarten teacher. I was working for youths, for disabled people, and for adults. This was quite about till 1995. I felt good in this profession, but I had also the urge that there must be much more in life existing, which really got me thinking about to quit that job and to leave that very secure life. So at 1995, I really quit everything and took my backpack and started traveling. I was traveling the world. While at that time, I also started to become a trainee and a facilitator about traumatic incidents to reduce conscious and subconscious incidents, mostly on traumatic incidences, so which were happening in childhood or also in the grown life. But then I had a journey to Southeast Asia, to Indonesia. And that was about 1997, and I got the call. I was beforehand also a very creative person, and this was part of my educational program for the kids and for the adults. But I never thought about to study art in Germany. So at that certain moment of time, while I was in Indonesia and in a country which in the beginning I didn't spoke the language, the culture was completely strange for me, but something was really inflaming myself, I would say. And so I got in touch with art. And it was not only being in touch, it was like a gate opened up inside of me. I knew suddenly this is what is really, really related with my inner self, with my soul. And I even didn't thought about. I stepped into this complete new world and started to become an artist. While at the same time, I was threatening by some very serious illnesses out there. And I survived. And I came back to Germany and did my first exhibition. And my first exhibition was sold out in 2 days. While nobody else knew me here, that I've turned into a professional artist. So I just did this exhibition. That was like a complete gate opened up for me and said, well, that's your second choice. Go for it, do it. And I listened that call and I kept going and I got the downloads and the energy. And so my life unfolded in a complete different direction. I started traveling. I went to Indonesia once in a while. I went to Europe, to some certain countries. I got in touch with another artists. I met mentors on my way. And all of this really shaped my personality. I was open in my heart, I was open in my mind to learn more about the world in itself, about different cultures, about different nations, about people. I learned mostly about myself because every single painting I did was like facing myself in a mirror and to accept myself in the way I am. That wasn't always an easy time. And while time were passing by, I understood more and more that I had to bring a message across. A message which I were using a language which many people were kind of strange when I were talking about divine love or about the higher self or the energy which is creating my life. But as more as I've got in touch with myself and my higher mission, or let's say the purpose of my life, I so understood that me as a mainly semi-abstract artist have a message. And this is not brought by my mind or through a study. It's originally existing in me. It's a gift. It's given to me. And that's why your subject, the power of giving, has really attracted my heart, because the power of giving as an abstract or as an artist is existing within me. And I were listening the call 1997 and turned this call into my profession, into my deepest passion, into a flame which started to burn bigger and bigger. And the success in the beginning was quite very fancy, I would say, because not every emerging artist has, from the very first beginning, collectors coming into the studio and buying the artwork. So I understood the magic which is existing in that journey. So every single step I took, it was like that the universe was recalling me and said, yes, look at this. That's your gift. That's another gift. That's another gift. And so I was stepping completely, fully committed onto this journey. And I'm doing this since 25 years. And I'm not doing this just only for me. It's a higher purpose beyond. It's the purpose of, I would say, the love which I have found within myself, which is around myself existing, and which is driving me as an artist. Because I would say love is just the idiom or the synonym for an energy which is pure, which is the finest selection of energy, which I say it's the purest divine energy, where we are coming from and where we are going back when we are leaving our physical body. This is what I call, it's the divine love. And this is what I found when I were listening my call as an artist. And this is what I want to bring across through my paintings, through my artwork, from my creative ideas I'm developing as an artist on myself, but also with another colleagues and friends together. This is the message to bring across as an artist. And every artistic biography has its own significant message existing, where we all can learn, because we are here on earth to learn more about what we know. So to strengthen our wisdom, which is existing within us, and to go along with and to explore and to share it with the world. And this is what I'm doing with my collectors and with the people who are close to me. I have been traveling the world and I have met so many different people from all over the world. And what really always was, let's say, the base was the respect, the tolerance, the valuable appreciation which were coming along, because it's existing in my heart and I'm giving it away. So it's just coming back to me. The way I'm speaking up, the same resonance is coming back to me. And so the art is telling me, who am I? As so I'm, as an artist, presenting through the art I'm creating a kind of a reflection where you are and where we are. And we are somehow made by the essence, by the divine love, by the energy which exists within us and which is naturally given to us. If you think about this, then you see your life from a complete different perspective. You can change your mindset. You can change your behavior. You can change your acting. And you can open up your heart. And this is fulfilling your life as it does my life. I'm very happy and I'm very pleased that I were listening my call and that I were listening the people who were around me and supported me and gave me the opportunity to show my art in front of many, many people, even in the States, in Europe, and in Southeast Asia. We all can learn while we meet and to talk openly from heart to heart, from soul to soul. And be aware that every artist which is crossing your path has a message to prevent, let's say. Every artist's biography has something special existing where we can change our perception of life, where we can be aware about the bigger picture of life, where we learn to understand our own self, where we understand the bigger meaning of life, where we understand the bigger picture of life. Everything starts within us. It's like a ripple effect. It's like if you pull a stone into the water, it creates circles. And this is what I'm doing with my art. I create circles because I am as I am, and you are as you are, as so we are. We are the part of the love which is existing within us and which is around us. And me as an artist, I try, and I think I'm doing my best to bring this message across in such a decent, in such a mindful, and in such a pleasant way, while we together can create such a much more brighter and much more illuminating picture of this world. I'm very thrilled to be part of this circle, to be able to speak up for your community, and that we are sharing together the love we have found within ourselves. And this love is illuminating the world and makes the world to a better place. Thanks for having me, and I wish you well and all the best. Namaste.
Wow, an amazing story.
Yes.
Imagine
Wow.
learning a new skill at that age
Yeah.
and completely turning your life around. Something is definitely working through her.
Yes, definitely. She's a channel for
Exactly.
that.
Petronelia, thank you so much for sharing your amazing story with us and for saying yes to God, to the universe, whatever it is that is working through you to bring this work to the world. I
Yes.
went onto her Instagram account and I
Mm-hmm.
started looking at some of her pictures, and her work is so vibrant. She uses very, very vibrant colors. I might just share screen again just so people can see the type of abstract art that Petronella is creating. But it is really fascinating to see someone pick up a brush and achieve such success.
Wow.
That's one of her pieces of art. Very, very
Beautiful.
vibrant
Yeah.
colors. Um, and the abstract nature of her work also makes it very special.
Does.
I love that pink. The pink is what really got me. So she has a lot of videos on Instagram where she's talking. But thank you so much, Petronella, because this is exquisite.
It is. And Gertrude, I'm just thinking of our theme, the power of giving, because I know we always think of giving as in changing somebody's life through maybe giving money or giving, but as we were talking about Petronilla here, I'm thinking she's giving her talent, she's giving her
Yes.
art to the world, and that's powerful.
It's a completely different energy, right?
Yes,
Just
it
somebody
is.
who's really tapped into something much bigger than herself that is working through her.
Hmm.
Yeah. So it's always nice to have these creative people on our platform as well. So that we're talking on a wide variety of subjects from art to music. So if you are a woman or a man who
Oh,
has
man.
vision to share the creative side of yourself at our platform, please feel free to do so. So, without further ado, we're going to move on to our next speaker,
Hmm.
Janice Leanne was introduced to us by Kay Johnson,
All right.
and her story is about self-esteem, having a lot of health and wellness issues, mental health issues as well. Thank you so much for sharing your video. I listened to it and I know that our community are going to get a lot of knowledge from what you've shared. So thank you, Janice. We'll play her video next.
Lived a life of what most would call normal. And I say that in quotation marks because we know we lived a life of what most would call normal. And I say that in quotation marks because we know we can debate that, right? But I lived in a life of what most would call normal. Two-parent home, had a brother, I was the youngest. It looked like peachy creams and candy canes on the outside, okay? Middle to upper class family, successful in school, uh, doing well at church, as that's part of my family dynamic. My mother was a musician. My father was a singer. He was in a university, so he's very affluent. Teacher, educator, advisor, and it was just the perfect family. At least that's what people would say, and that's at least what people thought. And so when we think about that, and when I even said that, that comes to mind that it really taught something. It really made me learn how to what? Be the great pretender. Because the reality was, it was a lie. Everything wasn't great. Everything wasn't peaches and cream. Everything wasn't hanky dory. But what it taught, because of the reception that was received, was that that was how you needed to present yourself. Perfect. I don't know that that is healthy. I have learned actually that that is not healthy, but that is what I did, and that is how I lived. And I was a very great cover upper. I was a very great perfectionist. And I wouldn't say perfectionist because I was perfect. I was just trying to shoot to please, people please. It was great and big and in my life it really really was. And so most of my life, what was I done? I was either told or expected to be. And I don't know if that relates to anything or anyone else, but it is something that I struggled with throughout my life. And speaking of life, my childhood, I did grow up in a Christian home, but I also went to Christian school with growing up. And then third grade came. And when third grade came, I was introduced to public school, and which was a jolt and a change for me. I was glad for the experience, but nonetheless, there were some things that were more sheltered and expected in the standard where I was and was not there now. So it was almost like a free for all. In that free for all, I was not ready. I was not ready. Why was I not ready? Because at that particular time, I had self esteem issues. It was around that 10ish, 11ish that I began to increase my weight. And then before you know it, I was classified as obese. I was classified as just unhealthy and one more than one ways, more than one ways. And so because of that, I really began to struggle in school, not academically, but I struggled mentally because of the pressure that was being put on me, the expectation that I was to be. Not only that, but so if I didn't get it in school where I was expected to be and do a certain thing so I can play a certain sport, so I can get certain friends, so I can be certain things. I was getting it at home. I was getting it at home because
I didn't tell you this, but my dad was a marathon. And honestly, though he's in his, well, actually, he'll be 70 this year. He still would run as much as he could. He has had knee replacement because that cartilage due to running, but he cannot do it as much. But he still tries as much as he can to do 8 miles. So that's the kind of pressure that gives you an image of what I've been dealing with. And I think because of that, I found myself rebelling. I found myself very abandoned, very rejected, very confused in my identity of who I was. And I share this because it's very easy when things look picture perfect that people assume that people are good. And so what I learned was mask up and look well. As long as you mask up and look well, no one would ask you questions. And the reality is they didn't. But I was hurting. I was screaming. I was crying out, wanting for someone, something to acknowledge me, not for the things that I could do, not for the talent. I could sing, and so people wanted me to sing. I could play. People wanted me to play. I could be the one that was like that. I always had a more caring attitude, and so it was me, the one that was everybody was calling for the advice and for the things. But then in all of that, I was carrying. I was carrying weight. I was carrying what everybody else wanted for me, and I never had a voice. And so I lost my voice throughout this process. And even when I speak about abandonment and take it back, and I think about how I was raised, and though my parents are still together to this day and 40 plus years, they have their dynamic of how they live. But throughout it, because my uh, dad was in academia and universities, he was not home very often. And I really saw that affect me when it came to identity and development and how those things were. So emotionally, mentally, I was not getting the reinforcement. And then, so on top of that, let's talk about the boyfriends. I told you that I was getting labeled as obese very early in my life. And so because of that, nobody there wanted me. And I get it. Now it's like big girl season. Everybody is feeling it. But in that day, in that hour, it was not being felt. It was actually being disgusted. I was actually being talked about and bullied so bad. Not just that, but we go to family. I guess what my nickname was? Butterball. Butterball. And I would be tormented because one of my family members would tell me, a turtle's gonna come out of your stomach when you sleep. And I tell you I can't tell you how long, I had dreams about a turtle coming out of my stomach. And I'm thinking of all the names to call me, why Butterball? But they said that it was Butterball because when it came to how I was built, that my stomach and the roundness of it was the biggest thing on my body. And so I learned how to just mask up. I learned how to shut down. I learned how to carry the weight of the world. And so I started to notice that those loads that I was carrying was really affecting my health, was really affecting my outlook, was really affecting how I was. And it wasn't allowing me to be authentically me. And authentic living requires us to know, to own, and to love ourselves. These were things I was not getting. These were things I was not looking at. These were things I was not paying attention to. So, what did it for me? What caused me enabled me to say authentically, which is who you really are? What caused me to tap into authentic living? What was that flip in that switch? And you won't believe it, or you may, but it was when I came into the realization my second year in college. I did finish my bachelor's, I have my master's, and I aim for my doctorate. But when I was my second year of undergraduate, I attempted suicide. No one knew until I was in the hospital and they were trying to save my life. And that was a pivotal change in my life. And that was when I woke up to saying, you know what, this self esteem thing, this is my belief about my own self. This is not what someone else inflicts on me. This is something I believe about me. And so, what I had to do was ask myself a question. Do you feel you are being or free to be yourself on a daily basis? And when I was able to answer that question with the truth of no, no, I don't feel like that. I don't feel like I'm getting that. That is when I began to be able to target what I needed to target to wake up to me. Because guess who had to live with who they had to live with every day? Guess who had to live with the thoughts? Guess who had to live with the physical body? Guess who had to do all of that? Me. I had to do it. And so I woke up to saying, okay, well, this person may be saying this about you. This person may not be doing this for you. This person may not. And so when are you going to wake up to realize that you have to fulfill those things within you? How are you going to do that? And with that, I said, okay, authentic living is knowing, owning, and loving who you are. This is about knowing, owning, and loving who I am. How do I get to know me? Literally, it's going to sound like the most simple yet difficult because we don't do it thing. And that is time. Take time with to me. I have to sit in it, not from a negative space, not from a negative place, but from an evaluation like I would if I was dating somebody, evaluation like I would with my creator. How do I get to know me? I spend time with for real me, asking those deep questions, getting into it, owning. I gotta own me. This is what caused me to release 180 pounds and still counting because I got 100 more to go. Okay. But this is what caused me to release that. It was owning. I had to take responsibility. And guess what I had to do? I had to take the weights off. And I heard this when I was in the valley, when I was in the struggle. I heard this that as go the weights with the S, so will go the weight. And I can attest to that truth in my life that as I began to release the weights in my life, the things that were never my responsibility, the false obligation, all of that, the boundaries were then set. And I was able to get comfortable with fully being me. And that last thing, loving. How do you love? How do you love yourself? It's being honest. It's not taking on everything of everybody else's. It's loving you. And then with that love calls for courage. That's doing it anyway, doing it when you feel like it, doing it when you don't feel like it, doing it, being brave and consistent. And so when it was up and when it was down, it was consistency in love that built me to a place to where I'm able to live down. It's that love is that unconditional worth of you that knows that it's done without condition. Nothing you have to do to earn it. It's who you are. It's the desire, like we would desire to benefit another. Love for yourself is desire to benefit you. And so you have to look at that. What are you doing? How do you desire to benefit yourself? These are questions that are necessary in order for us to move forward. And for me, it was crucial and imperative in me authentically living. And so now it allows me to share. Now it allows me to be vulnerable. Now it allows me to embrace life on a level that I've never known before because I learned how to do it now. I didn't learn how to do it if and when, if I make it, if they like me, if they acknowledge me, if they pay attention, if they do or don't. It does not change or affect my esteem and my belief and my confidence and my abilities of me because those things are pure. Those things are my values. Those things are my morals. Those things are my things. And nobody else can dictate those for me. That's what I choose. And so what I say is I had to have and know and see and believe in the power of my, not just my voice, but my choice. And that is how you authentically live. You choose every day, and sometimes every thought, and sometimes every moment, and sometimes every move, what and how you are being authentically you. And you go with that, and you sit with that, and you be gracious to you. You be gracious to you. And that's what I had to learn grace. And that the mistakes are, don't look at them as that. Look at them as lessons. Look at this as something that you're developing in, that you're growing in, that you're going forth in. And when you do, you're able to conquer it because what you faced it, because you confronted it. And that's what I have learned to embrace about authentically living. That in it, I can know me, I can own me, and I can love me for who I am, not who I ain't, not who I aren't, not who and what everything wants me to be, but who I am. And in that vulnerability is where I gain strength. In that vulnerability is where I'm now able to coach and be everything that I believe was in me all at the same time, but I allow the weights and the waste of everything and everyone else coming in that space that really I'm supposed to inhabit, that really I'm supposed to give the credit to, that really I'm supposed to acknowledge and hone in on and space out and really, really, really accept. No one else can do that for myself besides me, besides me. And so the real question is, when will we stop coming and just existing and just waiting and just wanting? When will we celebrate our steps, our processes, our life for what it really is because of who we really are? Really are. When we stop those false obligations and when we go forth in who we really are to share our story and to truly authentically be us. It's time out for the unauthentic living. And it's time to tap into knowing, owning, and loving who we are. What will you choose?
Another wonderful, wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, Janice. This was awesome. I think
Yes,
the one thing that I really took home, Ruth, is the
mm-hmm,
power of your choice. It's funny how we think things are happening to us and we have no control over what's going on.
mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, the choice is really ours. We do have a choice in terms of what to accept and what not to accept.
Sure, sure.
We're getting some comments from Facebook just before you jump in. Werner saying, spending time with yourself. Yep, we don't get to do a lot of that. He's also saying, releasing the weights of life. So, a lot of times when women put on weight, there is a reason. There is a
Very
reason.
interesting.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's a psychological thing, but it manifests in the physical as well.
Mm.
And the last thing that Verna has said is loving who you are. Awesome presentation. Thanks so much, Verna. Glad you are still participating with us on Facebook. What was your take? What was your biggest take home?
I just love it that today's theme is self-love,
Yeah.
self-care, self-esteem, saying no to unnecessary burdens and unnecessary loads that we carry as women. And then she speaks about authenticity. When you become authentically you,
Yes.
and then you just live your life because this is who you are, and you're no longer trying to please these people, no longer trying to please those people. You are just being authentic, your authentic self. And I love that because most of the times, Gertrude, again, like one of our speakers said, that we are taught to be nice, we are taught to help and not to say no. We find ourselves taking on a lot of loads, and she talks about the weight that she was carrying other people's burdens, was carrying other people's um, weight, and she was taking in all that extra weight from other people, and then it manifested in a physical body. So again, it was awesome, such a lovely presentation. She did so well. And I like the way she is. She's very what's the word?
Down to earth.
Down to earth? Yes.
Yes.
She's very down to earth.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
We've
No,
got another comment on Facebook.
and who was that?
That's from Dorothy Kadikano. Welcome, Dorothy. Thank you for joining us. And she says, I'm learning the value of self love, being authentically you, being love, you attract love. You don't go out to find love. Wow. That's what she took from that presentation.
Wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. All right. So let's move on to our next speaker. Sandy Davies is coming to us from Cairns, Queensland, Australia. And she is an author. She is a fempreneur, and she's the founder of Soothing Happy Pause Balm. So Happy Pause is a product that helps women who are going through menopause. Sandy, thank you so much. I know you couldn't be with us, but you are here with us in spirit for sure. Thank you so much for gracing us with your beautiful presentation. I will share the screen and then we will have a conversation and a discussion about it afterwards. Thank you, Sandy.
Hello, I'm Sandy Davies. I'm coming to you today from Eastern Guyalanji country, upon whose lands I live. I'd like to take this opportunity to acknowledge the elders, past, present, and emerging, all of whom I have deep, abiding respect for. This land is the remote tropics of far north Queensland, on the edge of the World Heritage Listed Daintree Rainforest, where it meets the cusp of the fringing reef of the Great Barrier Reef. I just wanted to take you on a walk today with me through Jalumba, the world's most ancient continual rainforest, and I wanted to connect you to its magical power. However, outside there is a cyclone looming and the rain has come, so sit with me here inside in this peaceful place as we chat about living above your station and rediscovering your power to rise above. My husband and I have thousands of tourists sigh with envy. You are so lucky, and you live here. My message to you is that luck has nothing to do with our happiness. Regardless of where you are in your life or what you're facing, I believe that we choose our perception of paradise, we choose our attitude, and we choose whether and when to rise. You see, I believe within all of us we have the power to rise. Let me say that one more time. Within us, we all have the power to rise. No matter where you are on this magnificent planet while you're listening to my story today, you too have the infinite power to rise. If you're dissatisfied with your surroundings or situations placed upon you, you have the power to choose and to create your next step. Our life in paradise isn't luck like so many visitors think. It took infinite hard work, and with that, we embraced our power, rose, and made our dreams a reality. And yes, by the way, that was me that you saw turning a page. I'm going to refer to my notes throughout our conversation, as I do not want to miss a single thing. A part of my life mission is to break down the stigma of menopause and bring conversations about that transition era in women's lives into the mainstream. I've been called vulgar by men who even in this century still feel menstruation, birth, and menopause should remain unspoken. I've been an object of ridicule and subject to inappropriate behavior since launching my Menopause is a Happy Pause mission. I guess all that chatter means I'm doing a good job. But one of the symptoms with menopause is brain fog. And brain fog can also bring anxiety and a loss of confidence, even if you've been confident throughout adulthood. I don't remember how many speeches I've given in the past, but that brain fog for me personally in this moment means that I cannot effectively memorize speeches at my best. So my notes today symbolize that we are all human and we do not have to be perfect in every moment. Hey, notes are okay. Do life, do presentations, do living your best life your way, 100%. With notes or without, whatever you are facing, you have got this. You know, just like Penny Ford and Snap from that 1990s anthem, I've got the power. So by now, you may have begun to notice that my accent is not 100% Australian. You may have even picked up on that ever so slight, absolutely lush bit of a tiny Welsh lilt. You'll find out about that in the future. I'm not only a woman of the tides, I am a woman of the world. I was born and raised in Greensburg, Kansas, in the Midwest of the United States. My father served in the Navy in World War II, then returned home to marry his small-town sweetheart, who, by the way, in 1949, was the first ever female leader in Kansas of a Glenn Miller-esque style big band. Even back then, my mum was a glass ceiling breaker. But more about my beautiful mum soon. My father became a grocery store manager. For any of you who are Richard Kiyosaki fans, my parents had the poor dad ethics in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. My dad worked hard, and he saved. And my mama raised us right, including raising me as the only girl to use my voice, be forthright, and never, ever keep my mouth shut. Thank you so much, Mom. Then in the mid-1980s, their world fell apart. They lost everything. The savings and loan crisis saw their savings disappear right before their very eyes. And as if that wasn't enough, the grocery store chain my dad was working for was bought out by a larger company. The new corporate owners started at one end of Kansas and drove through to the other, stopping at every store with a World War II veteran manager over the age of 50 and firing them on the spot to avoid the cost of carryover retirement benefits. A number of the other managers committed suicide. Luckily, my dad did not, but he fell into a deep, deep depression. At age 50, my mother had to reinvent herself and find work with no experience under her belt. She was scared. She had doubts. She faced rejection again and again, but she didn't give up. She found her feet through selling Mary Kay cosmetics. Back then, the pinnacle of Mary Kay success was a pink Cadillac. My mom set her goal on earning that caddy lease. I helped her do Mary Kay after Mary Kay event. She reached that goal, but before she could take possession of that pink caddy, a step-up emerged and she entered the financial industry. She was so 9 to 5, just like the Dolly Parton song. There were very few women in the industry. She became the first of so many things. Just like in the 1940s when she'd become the first female band leader, now here she was in the 1980s, becoming the first woman in the state to have a full securities license and smashing glass ceilings in a man's world. As a teenager, I was so proud of her. Let me read you a passage from the book I co-authored called Courage and Confidence, What It Really Takes to Succeed in Business. In this book, I wrote about my mother in the chapter, The Courage to Leap, Lessons I Didn't Realize My Mother Taught Me. We cannot control the behavior of others, but we can control our attitude and how we react. I decided a long, long time ago that letting others steal my joy gave them far too much power. Growing up in the wheat belt of the American Midwest, rural counties had driving laws that allowed kids as young as 14 to get their driving license. The purpose was enable farm kids to drive wheat trucks to the elevator during harvest. But it also meant that all us country kids got to legally drive from a very young age, even if we could barely see over the steering wheel. It was awesome. I equated driving with freedom, especially on the wide open highways of the Great Plains. Whenever my mother needed a driver, I was her gal. I spent many of my teen years driving those long highways to attend motivational seminars with my mother as she built her career. Early on, I hand wrote a message from one of those seminars and taped it to my mirror where I would see it as a daily reminder. I can't remember now if it was Zig Ziglar, Louise Hay, Wayne Dyer, Tony Campolo, or Stephen Covey, who pointed their finger at this little girl in the front row of the Cosmosphere Convention Center in Hutchinson, Kansas, and said, "If you let someone else ruin your day, they've one. But to this day, I am still adamant that they are totally right. Stay focused on the joy that emanates from within rather than letting others spoil your day. There's just something about lifting the corners of our lips that connects to the receptors in our brain to reset our attitude and get us back on track to get through the rest of the day. And I close that chapter with a quote from one of my favorite theologians, Henry Nouwen. Joy does not simply happen to us. We have to choose joy and keep choosing it every day. It was such a privilege to honor my courageous mother's legacy through this book, Courage and Confidence. And Women Making a Difference Press have also asked me to co-author Dr. Tara Trent's upcoming anthology, Sacred Promise. In Sacred Promise, you'll get the opportunity to discover a bit more about my journey and my sacred promise. Which brings me to a pivotal moment in life where I had to decide whether I would let others define me or if I would rise through my own power. I was a brainiac in high school. I knew I wanted more. For me, the path to more was knowledge and education. I was so proud when I earned enough academic scholarships to be able to afford to go to college. I would go on to become the first girl in my family to get a university degree. And I was a girl. I was so excited. So was my mom, who believed in the power of my wing. That excited mom planned a huge high school graduation party. My computer science teacher gave a speech about my potential and the brilliant future he was sure lay ahead for one of his favorite ever students. The room was filled with joy. Until, that is, my grandma stood up and clapped her hands. The applause stopped, and before she spoke, I could feel the change in the air within the room. Y'all need to stop this nonsense right now. You people putting notions in this girl's head, you've got her thinking above her station. And I didn't hear the rest as a deafening roar rose within my soul. Apparently, my brother was getting ready to try to intervene when he saw my lips part. I said plenty, all right. I remember right up until my brother's death, he used to laugh and tell about the fiery, independent tornado that I let rip at my graduation party. In fact, when he introduced me to his true soulmate, Sarah, decades later, a few months before he unfortunately died by suicide, that speech was the first story that he proudly told about his kid sister, much to my chagrin. So back to high school. After high school, I graduated with honors with a Bachelor of Science from Kansas State University and completed my master's degree overseas in Australia as an ambassador of goodwill. It was during that sojourn in Australia that I met my soulmate, a magical soul. He too dreamed of much more. And that brought him to leaving his family's farm in Wales in search for more. And now here we are, in the lucky country, regularly listening to tourists wistfully proclaim our luck amidst their own dissatisfaction with theirs. Others do not define you. Others cannot destroy your resilience. Sometimes we somehow let them sneak in under our armor. Sometimes they think they've won. But even if you are in a moment where you feel they are right or you are doubting yourself, you are resilient. You will rise. You have the power. Yep, there I am again, humming that snap anthem. I've got the power. It will guide you. Never let anyone else define your station. You and what you can achieve are infinite, no matter your age or circumstance. I'm living proof. I'm living my best life, choosing joy, and allowing my power to continue to rise almost 4 decades after that tongue lashing by my grandma. I am grateful for her thinking so little of me. Her lack of expectation fueled mine. I'm so thankful I recognized my power to rise and be more so long ago. It has stood me strong across this life of slings and arrows of misfortune. It has prompted me to take arms against a sea of troubles, like speaking about menopause out loud. Here I am in my 50s, finally appreciating why we had to study Shakespeare in school. Now I know the answer is within that very first line of the Hamlet soliloquy. Because you see, when the prince says, to be or not to be, well, my friends, the answer is simply be. Be. Be you. Be free. Be true to yourself. Be true to your own inner power. Recognize your power to rise above, and you too will be deemed lucky by others. Have the courage and the confidence to leap. You've got this.
Beautiful, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful presentation. Wow, what an amazing lineup of speakers today, Ruth.
Yes.
The
She's
energy that these
spunky.
women are bringing is just incredible.
She's so spunky and so energetic. I love her energy. She
Yeah, no,
really has the power. She really has the power.
thank you, Sandra. I'm excited that we are participating in Dr. Tererai Trent's
Yes. Book.
her book. Really excited, and hopefully I will do the podcast interview with you soon. Thank you for bringing such energy to this platform. You know, this is what we need. A lot of women think that by the time they get to 50 and get the menopause age, you know, life goes downhill. But I think it's actually just the beginning.
It is.
Just where your life is starting to take off. So that was wonderful. So we had a comment, I think, from Facebook. From Verna, she said, I choose joy. Yeah, but I think we should all focus on choosing joy. And coping with the challenges that come with menopause. You know, the brain fog and the memory loss, it's a very real thing.
Yes.
I've experienced it. My brain is not as sharp as it used to be, and it's very frustrating sometimes. But you have to find ways to cope with it.
Sure. I know I've also been struggling with this, especially with the blank moments. You know, you're in the
Yes.
middle of a sentence and you just go blank. So also, yeah. So I think
man. But that's
I'm
life.
gonna go to her. Does she have a website or Instagram page?
She does. I think it was on the last, I've just come out of that video, but
Okay,
the
on the
last frame of the
slide.
video.
Okay.
And you can find her on LinkedIn, Sandy Davies. Just find a Sandy Davies that's connected to me. She's on LinkedIn as well.
I'll find her.
All right. So let's move right along with our program. I'm thinking we leave Ashley's video until she is available to be there for the Q&A session, Ruth.
Yes.
She did try to come on a bit earlier, but she must have been having connectivity issues today.
And I know she has said that evenings for her work better. So it could also be the time.
The time of
So I
day.
think she's on tomorrow or the following day. So we will have her on.
Okay. So shall we go on to Joelle?
Yes.
Do you have her bio, or shall I read it out from here?
If you have it readily available, please do read it out.
Okay. So Joelle Kabamba launched her second book very recently. She's an advocate for two cultures, rejoicing in her African heritage while embracing Australia as her home for over 30 years. This rich cultural background has given Joelle a unique perspective as a leader, and has empowered her to speak in current issues, challenging some of the prejudices that confront our world today. Joelle's passion for single people has inspired her new book, The Unexpected Gift, and a birthing of her ministry, which focuses on empowering Christian singles and encouraging them to flourish. So, Joelle, thank you. Thank you for being a part of our circle and encouraging and inspiring those single people who feel like they have lost out on something in life, are still looking for love but don't know how to find it. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. And Nina, it's wonderful to see you there. We're looking forward to celebrating your birthday with you tomorrow. Always happy to have you chime in all the way from Queensland. So, Joelle, the stage is yours.
Hey, I'm Joelle Kabamba. I live in Melbourne, Australia. I am an author, a pastor, a life coach, humanitarian advocate working in the asylum seeker space. These are some of the things that keep me super pumped waking up in the morning to face the day. But I have a question for you. If you've ever been in a room where you heard two opposing views, you have a 25-year-old and a 48-year-old, and you ask a question on the subject of singleness, 100% their response won't be the same. Say a young woman who's looking to find a partner experiences singleness differently from a more mature woman whose biological clock is ticking close to midnight. And then you have a different woman who may have lost a partner to death or divorce, therefore sees the world differently from a woman who is very happy to and desire not to marry. Each of these stories present their own varying needs and challenges that had me suddenly realize every single one of us at some point in our lives will find ourselves single because it's a common human experience. And this is why this subject on singleness is so pivotal and demand that I needed and we need to respond in this prevailing rise of women and how we can live and thrive in our postmodern world. The Australian Institute of Family Study states that one-person household is on the rise. Between 1986 to 2016, single-person household increased from 19% to 24%. Compared to family household, in 2018, there were 2 million singles household. The projection states 2026, single household will surpass traditional nuclear family. By the time today's young adult reaches age 50, 1 in 4 would have been single for the entirety of their lives. There's a huge anxiety among singles, and that is unprecedented in the history of the church today. See, the media often project this as a negative and pushes single to fast track this season or space like a bad smell. And so I went on a journey, my own reflecting journey, as a lived experience of a yet to marry single, conducting qualitative research with others, surveying considerable amount of single of all walks of life. So I speak from a Christian faith perspective, as I believe the Bible is God's word, is inspired and inherent love letter to the world. From that perspective I engage in deeper into this subject. See, I believe in marriage. I just don't believe, I just don't think it's the whole story. Singleness and marriage go hand in hand. Both need to be validated to best affirm, nurture single and married people alike. A friend of mine once shared that the reality of looking into her community and finding people who were well-meaning at times was not always easy. She felt like some individual she encountered couldn't see past her singleness and almost seemed to be grieving this for her without her permission. And I'm often confronted with the statement, How can a gorgeous girl like you still be single? Hang on, wait. Is this to imply that the not so gorgeous girl should remain single? I'd be rich for every time I heard that statement. How many of us singles have been subject to some of these statements? Raise your hand, or better still, don't. Why are you single, for example? Your biological clock is ticking. Don't worry, the right one will eventually come. You've missed the boat. Hurry up, you're not getting any younger. You've been left on the boat, on the shelf. All the good men are gone. What a waste. And the statement can go on and on and on. These classic one liners might get us to laugh, but can often feel like a character assassination, thus reinforcing the stigma surrounding singleness, and may present the myth that marriage is for everyone and singleness need fixing. This has left singles continually content with the mindset that they are not enough or too much. We may harbor fears that we might die alone. To find someone is a challenge, or fears for the future in general. We blame ourselves that we're too thin, we're too fat, we're too smart, we're too strong, we're too needy, we're too sensitive. And the end result is shame, the universal companion for women, leaving us haunted with the feelings of abandonment. We then give in to the lies that perhaps if we were better women, this wouldn't be the case and there'd be no challenge. This shame eats into our self image and our desire for love, which our values, when used as a weapon against us, can dangerously destroy women's identity. Now, although a forward progressive society and a place for women's contribution continues to take precedent, unlike centuries gone by, the stigmatization, the marginalization, the discrimination towards single women today still brings restlessness as we continue to be placed in a category of not enough. How then do we live and rise above such current? See, I remember one defining moment in my life. I just moved from one city to another, and this brought in itself convoluted sets of questions, and I was struck with this particular question. What if I never give birth? It was the first time I had considered the possibility of childlessness. Fear gripped me. What if I never had a little precious mini me to nurture and to hold and love? Wave of sadness washed over me, and I might never be called Mama. I had to accept that this could be my reality, but I didn't want it to consume me. I talked it over with God. New sense of emotion started to surface. And although I had fear, God's peace, sense of peace was significant. And I found myself saying this statement over myself. You hold my life, so whatever you have for me will be great. Now, defining the word single, the truth is, looking through the dictionary, the word single has many, 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 many meaning. I've got one in particular that stands out for me, and it's the word indivisible. This word means divisible, not separate into parts, incapable of being divided, but it can be added to. So see, single people can have singleness of purpose, singleness of heart, which is the opposite of double-mindedness and complication. Singles are complete and poised with purpose. Indivisible is how I chose to make the most of my singleness. I use an unknown quote that says, a life well lived is a life shared. So at some point in our life, we all live to experience being alone. It's inevitable because it's also a human experience. When we look at it this way, it can change our perspective, and we all need to learn to make the most of our alone time. So I personally had to learn to cultivate such time to eventually make it favorable in cherishing my singleness and embrace it as a gift. So as a 20-year-old woman, I intentionally allow myself to be more selective in the way I invested my time. And I did not settle in seeking relationship in order to be defined. I took the opportunity to share my life with others by traveling the back streets of Africa and Asia to those who felt forgotten and wounded. I learned to look past their scars and noticing their resilience and courage, telling them that they were highly favored by God. I walked the corridors of hospitals filled with women and young girls torn from gangs and rape, the primary weapon in DRC, my country of birth. I engaged to serve military soldiers dying of HIV and their family to die with hope, and held youth conferences to share and equip young generation to value and uphold their dignity with their body and to live with hope and purpose. You see, my solution is that if to thrive as a single, it was crucial to create a fresh new narrative. To do so, I had to start by defining the type of status I wanted to thrive in, and not to give in to the low self-prescribed lies of how I viewed myself or being weighed down by society's label. It was important to recognize the history of women's place in our society and how it has left a lingering stigma, making single women feel like they are forever fighting to fit in a couple society that tells me we are not good enough, and so elevate the sense of our abandonment. So to combat these myths, needed to debunk and consider four things that I did. Was to know my identity. When our society presents us with all kinds of alternatives to camouflage the truth, I had to remain vigilant in this one thing. See, the devil, God's enemy, focuses on women is often in the area of self-image and desire to love. So the devil's out to steal our identity. This is the case because as a woman, I hold and we hold the image of a creator God, and that we're unique and glorious, the beauty, holding the beauty of God inside. We incarnate God in a sense that we are nurturer and we give life, and we do so in every other thing that we touch, whether spiritually, relationally, or in all aspects. Christian philosopher Dallas Willard says desire is infinite partly because we were made by God, for God, made to need God, and made to run on God. We can satisfy only by the one who's infinite, eternal, and able to supply our needs. We are only at home in God when we fall away from God's desire for the infinite remains, but it's displaced upon things that certainly leads to distraction. So to protect my identity, our identity, it starts by seeing ourselves through the eyes of our designer. Once we understand this, we are then able to easily step into our purpose. The other thing I needed to do was to find connection. Flourishing as a single, I needed to be vulnerable with my feelings and challenges and be transparent with my needs in identifying people in my world who I felt safe to share my joys and challenges. Thirdly, I needed to build a community to be successful single. It was important to align my life in a community and engage with others. This can only happen when I identified community that I could call my own, belonged, and I created even a singles program where we were stepping out to do lunches on a recurring time around the city. And lastly, I needed to accept now, to be real with myself now, live in the presence and acknowledge that what it offers without dismissing its lesson, learn what now season is meant to bring in my, so that my future self can be thankful for me remaining pliable. And so I believe now is time to shift and rewrite singles' new narrative by wearing singleness well. Because when I wear it well, singleness has the opportunity to spur great things in one's life and causes us to thrive in life, to have a vision about my singleness and refuse to settle or align to the internal and external labels. I am Joelle Kabamba, author of The Unexpected Gift, which only just was released recently, a book written for all types of single women, calling singles to thrive, live with purpose, and impact. This is my story.
Wow. Wow. We have some powerful, powerful, powerful stories today, Ruth.
Yes, we do. And women who own the stories, women who are walking in their purpose, Gertrude. I love that.
Yeah. I think one of the things about Joelle, and especially from our African culture, the amount of pressure that women are put under for being single, the
Yeah.
stress that women go through, which is totally unnecessary. But our society, our culture dictates that by a certain age, you need to be married, you need to have children. And if you surpass that age, you're frowned upon
There's
as if
something's wrong.
it was
Yeah.
your fault. Yeah. I think
Wow.
what she's doing for single women is phenomenal. I know that she's been running events here in Melbourne. So if anybody is interested to connect with Joelle, she is on LinkedIn, and she organizes date nights where people are screened. So you're not just, hitting on random strangers in a bar. Yeah, she runs events for single couples. And I know
Wow.
she's going to be doing retreats as well later in the year. So it's really exciting to have her as part of our tribe, helping women find
Amen.
joy in themselves first before they look for their significant other outside.
Yeah. And she says the question that she's asked so many times is, "What's a gorgeous woman like you? What are you doing still single?" And she says, "Oh, so are they saying that the people that are not so good looking or gorgeous should be single? I mean, why should they be single? So again, it's something that always, you're asked, oh, you're single. Why? Why are you single?
As if there's actually something wrong with you.
Something wrong, yes.
Yes. Yes.
So I like
When
it that she's empowering the single one.
Oh man. So Verna's chiming in there on
Facebook.
Facebook. Lovely to see you're still with us, Verna. She said that was a powerful presentation. Yeah, it was. It's really beautiful to watch these articulate women just expressing themselves, sharing their stories. It really makes such a difference for us to share from different facets of our lives. So today we went from art to menopause to singleness to
Singlehood.
self-confidence. It has been a very, very inspiring morning so far.
It
All right.
has.
So Miriam's video is struggling to download. I think because I'm online, I'll have to push that to tomorrow's schedule. If you could please put it on the next schedule.
Okay.
And we did get a video from Tendai Ganga.
Yes.
Do you have Tendai's bio?
The video or the bio? The
The
bio?
bio. I have the video.
Okay.
I'll line it
Let
up
me
now
let me get her
while you
bio.
find her bio. So she talks on being broken but not destroyed.
Yes.
Hope I find you well in the comfort.
Okay, did you find her bio?
Yes, I have it. Gosh,
Yeah, for
sorry.
some reason, downloading the videos while we're online has been a struggle today.
For Marian or the others as well.
Mary Ann's, for some reason, I can't seem to download it.
Okay. All right, I'm just opening Tendai's. Okay. Okay, so Tendai Ganga is a dedicated woman whose passion is undeniably evident in improving the lives of women and girls around the world. She's outgoing and finds it easy to relate with that bond needed to carry out her community work. She is the founder of Born to Shine organization the ministry with Women at Heart. Tendai is currently the ABC Canberra Multicultural Champion Award winner 2021. She's a motivational speaker, registered nurse, pastor, CEO, and founder of Born to Shine. She hosts a live experiences talk show. She's an author, coordinator, and community multicultural broadcaster for the Zimbabwe radio program, which she launched on the Canberra Multicultural Service radio station, aimed to cultivate and promote the Zimbabwean culture and discuss issues relevant to the Zimbabwean community in the diaspora. So she believes that the challenges we face in life are not meant to break us, but make us stronger. That's her
Hey,
bio. Yeah.
wonderful. Right, so we'll exit. And Tendai, thank you so much for resending the video. The stage is yours.
This is Tendai Ganga. Hope I find you well in the comfort of your homes or wherever you might be. Growing up in the streets of Harare in Chitungwiza, as one of the kids we used to run around the streets, we didn't care that there was litter everywhere, broken pieces of glasses. All we were after was to enjoy our lives and be there for one another. If one got injured, maybe cut by one of the pieces of those glasses, we all gathered together, removed that glass, get a cloth, whether it was a piece of a torn shirt, we would just bandage it, and then we continued to play. Why am I talking about this litter, the broken pieces of the glasses? At times we go on with life wearing a smile, wearing nice clothes, and yet deep in the inside we have got broken pieces, broken heart, sadness, tears, and no one else can tell, no one else can see except you and God. So I want to encourage someone out there to say that, yes, we might go through some situations that break us down. We are broken, but not destroyed. I have gone through some challenges, and up to now, I still face some challenges. And at times, I just stop and look at the situation and see what God wants me to do through it all. I might cry, but I don't continue to have pity party, tear party, but I go back to the Word of God and encourage myself in the Word. These are the steps that we need to take as children of God, for we are not lost. Our hope is not lost. We find comfort in the presence of God. Reach out to God in the first instance. Read the Word of God, and you find that in the Word, there will be a word for your situation. And then, of course, we've got brethren and sisters out there. So we need to reach out for one another, to pray, to intercede, to support and encourage one another. Remember, you are born to shine. The challenges you face in life today, they are not permanent. They are not meant to break you down, to destroy you, but they are meant to make you stronger. Let your light shine. See you next time. God bless.
All right, a nice, short, to the point presentation by Tendai. Interesting thing about this presentation is that it reminds me of home. The place where she is talking about, Chitungwiza, is a place that my father had our second home. When I got my first job, I actually lived in Chitungwiza for a long time, for about 2 years. So it comes with very fond memories to listen to Tendai sharing her story, expressing her life in Zimbabwe, in a township where I actually grew up. And the description of the children playing in the streets with very little, helping each other, absolutely beautiful memory, Tendai. You have reminded me of home and the simplicity and the joy in which we grew up and in which we lived. I've got Verna contributing on Facebook saying, "Let your light shine." And I think my co host, Ruth, I'm not sure if you're still there or if your power has gone out, send me a message. But I suspect that you're being challenged again with electricity in Zimbabwe. So when you're ready, just come back on screen. So, Tendai, I am so looking forward to doing the podcast interview with you. As you know, each of our speakers gets highlighted and profiled through our podcast. And it is really a way for us to let the whole community know, let the audience know all of the amazing women who are part of this movement. It takes a lot of courage for people to step up, to speak and be heard. And I really honor you in saying yes, in taking up this challenge and being with us today. Thank you so much for your presentation. So without further ado, I am going to share one more video of our chairperson for the Herstory movement in New South Wales, Australia. Lynn Passy is a single mom who was brought up in Zimbabwe as an orphan when both her parents died. She was taken in by family, but ended up experiencing a lot of abuse at the hands of people who her mother had thought would care for her when she died of HIV. I always love sharing Lynn because she is an example of resilience, of strength, and just that inner power that comes in knowing who you are as a person and as a woman. She's recently had a baby and can't be with us, but Lynn, it's always a pleasure for me to share your story, share who you are with the world, because you are an incredible human being. And the things you've gone through, the things you've come out with are just amazing. So this is the Herstory Circle chairperson for Sydney, Lynn Passy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lynn Passy, and I'm chairperson for Sydney Herstory Global Women Empowerment. It's such an honor to be part of such an amazing group of women. And I'm just here to share my story and just to also tell you what my experience has been. I met, I think I'd like to say to get through first before I get into my speech. I met Gertrude when I was about 22, and probably I don't think you guys remember. I had my son at that age. I had just been married, and I used to admire her from afar. But I guess like what all of you ladies are saying is once you meet Gertrude, there's this bubble of energy, and she just draws you in, and you just want more and more and more. You just can't. If someone, she has that kind of energy, you will never forget her. You just want to be part of anything that she's doing. So I'm very honored to be part of her story circle and just keep on growing with you ladies here. A bit of my background. I think I shared earlier on with when we started the conference. My background, I come from a what I call a rainbow family. I think, yeah, I call it a rainbow family. I was raised by my stepfather and my biological mom. He had two kids, my brother and my sister, and she had me. So there were two divorcees who just got married. I felt love, I tasted love, I smelled love being raised by these two amazing human beings. I hear so many horrific stories about how a lot of kids are abused by step parents and all sorts of, crazy things that happen out there. But my stepdad was just an amazing human being. I was in a perfect setting. They always tell you that what a child needs is just love. If you give a child love, I think that's the best thing that you can ever do. And that's what I got. In our little world of love, my family, I guess HIV struck my family. And I remember losing my stepdad when I was 9. It was the most heartbreaking thing that I ever went through. My hero, the man who used to teach me riding my bike, who used to walk me around the yard, going left, right, trying to teach me which hand was right and which one was left. He was gone. My mom had to be strong. She had to raise my stepbrother, my stepsister, myself, and my half sister that she had at that time. She was about a year old, and she was pregnant as well, expecting another child, and she was widowed. So she became the backbone of our family. Every time when I mention my mom's name, I start trembling. She was the foundation. She was the rock. She was the pillar. She was just an amazing soul to be around. Every time when I think about her, I always wonder why God even let her be on earth, because she was that good. She was loving, she was caring, she was nurturing, and she passed on so many things to us. Being a child raised in a family that has HIV is the most difficult thing. You are tainted as a sickling person. You are a diseased person. No one wants to talk to you. No one wants to touch you. No one wants to be close to you because your family has HIV. I grew up around that. I used to visit my cousins. Families can be loving, but they can be extremely horrible. And I remember one incident. I was about 10, 11, and we visited one of our aunties, and she made us sleep in the garage because my mother had HIV and my sister had HIV. And I remember whilst we were still at their house, they had to strip down all the blankets and put them in the washing machine for hours and hours and hours because they were scared, because they were scared to catch the disease. That became part of my life. But my mother sheltered us so much. She wanted us to know that HIV was just a disease. It didn't change who we were. It didn't define who we were. She taught us to be caring. She taught us to be giving as well. She taught us to love unconditionally and to reach out to anyone out there who needs help. And throughout my years, that's what I did. I thought that people would pity me, and want to care so much, but they didn't. Instead, they became even more cruel. When I got to about 15, after my stepdad had died, my half-sister had passed on, my younger brother had passed on as well. So I had lost already 3 family members. My mother took ill really bad, and she started prepping us, myself and my older brother and my older sister. She started preparing us for her death because she knew it was coming. She would sit us down and, she would literally imitate how people would be crying on her funeral. And she'd call out the names and say, Auntie such and such, Uncle such and such would be doing this on my funeral. And she would ask us so many times to be strong, to be brave, because people are going to start name calling. We thought this was just her own perception or assumption on how things would be. I thought that, mom is just telling stories. I'm sure if she does pass on, people will be kind and loving and, they'll feel sorry for us. On the 2nd of December, 2000, my mother passed on and life hit really hard. I started seeing everything that my mother taught me. I started seeing everybody's behavior changing towards us. I'm going to be sharing just a few things that I experienced in my past being an HIV orphan. And I guess having met Gertrude, that's why I guess I really understand what her passion is all about, because I'm one of those orphans. After my mother passed on, I remember walking in a bush, and I was sitting on a little rock. It was more like a granite rock. And I was sitting there because I had been kicked out of home. And I couldn't understand why. My family was trying to split us up with my stepsister and my stepbrother because they were blaming my stepfather for infecting my mom. So the siblings that I had grown to know were being taken away from me. So every time I would go and visit my sister, I would come home to my mother's house and I would get a beating. A wooden stick. It could be a hose. It could be anything. They would beat me up because I was just talking to my sister. They wanted me to be alone. And I became alone. So as I was sitting in the forest, I thought to myself, my mom is gone, my dad is gone, all my siblings, my biological siblings are gone. My step siblings are gone. They've taken them away from me. So what's going to happen now? And I thought to myself, you know what, Mom, you taught me, you passed on all these lessons to me, but I think I'm not strong enough. I decided to take my life away. But I was only 16 at that point. I just turned 16. And
I didn't know any better. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know forms of taking your life away. And suicide wasn't a thing. It was something that I would just hear about. And I went home. I took a pack of 24 Panadols. I was like, yep, that's it. I'm going to die. I just want to be with my family. It didn't happen. All I got was stomach pains and cramps. I started a journal. I would start writing things, everything that I was going through. I experienced sexual abuse, being molested right under my family's nose. And I would seek help. I would talk to them. And they would tell me that it's your fault. You're just a naughty teenager. That's why. I had to dig deep. I had to dig deep down in my soul and look and reach out for the lessons that my mother taught me. I never knew that love could be so powerful. I started thinking about all those lessons about staying strong, about just reaching out in my darkest moments. My mother always used to tell me that when you find yourself in your deepest, darkest moments, just reach out, wake up, get up, stand up. You don't know who's going to be outside. That person you might bump into might be the person who's going to rescue you. I started thinking about the years that I had with her, the love that we shared. In Africa, people know that what we call this, it's like sour cream. We call it lacto. You can eat sadza with lacto. And this is for the poor, mostly. She would set our table, put serviettes, shape them into little ducks. And we would sit there and share prayers and eat sadza and lacto. So I started digging down, reaching out for those lessons that my mother used to teach me. And she always used to say, baby, the moment you wake up and your feet touch the ground, know that you're blessed. So I started thinking about all these things so that I could get myself out of this suicide path that I'd started going towards. As strong as I was trying to be, as young as I was, things were still difficult. I went through hell on earth. Family started accusing me of killing my own mother. And they would say that I was a witch. And they would say that because I was a horrible teenager, probably that's why my mom died. They started name calling me. They started accusing me of being pregnant and all sorts of things. And this was my family. And I would think that my mom probably is tossing in the grave right now because she left me in the hands of these people and she thought they would look after me. I remember at 16, I received my very first birthday card after my mom was gone. It was written, "Happy birthday, darling, ha ha ha," straight from the grave. This is immediate family that I'm talking about. People can be cruel. My heart bleeds for orphans. I'm grown, I'm 36. I'm raising my two beautiful children God blessed me with. I've got both ends with my children. I've got a 14-year-old and I've got a 3-year-old. So I experience both dramas, but they're blessing. I walk around every day wondering if I'm to pass on, if I don't reach out to the community and build foundations and build things that protect orphans, what will happen to my children when I'm gone? Orphans need to be looked after. Orphans deserve to be loved. My story stretches because being an orphan, I ended up getting married, but nobody really cared about what was going to happen. I walked straight into a domestic violence relationship. I'll get beatings. The blood that I remember, the first blood is when I was a teenager as an orphan, when I used to go for my menstrual periods and no one would used to buy sanitary pads for me. And I would use newspapers. I would tear up towels. The second streak of blood that I know is when I was married, when my husband used to beat me up to get abortions because I was pregnant and it wasn't part of the budget. As an orphan child, yes, I was an adult, but who was I going to tell? I didn't have a mom and dad to cry to. I didn't have anyone to share my story with. I come here on this platform, bold. I might cry, but I'm bold. I'm strong. I made it in life. I worked for a big corporate in a management role. They didn't want me to succeed. They didn't give me an opportunity to go to university. But I was empowered by so many people around me, just like you, all of you on this platform. I didn't have any source of education, but I'm in a corporate role, in a management position, because I was empowered as an orphan. I come to this platform and I share my story, and Gertrude makes that happen for me. Like all of you are saying, she's a big sister to all of us. I share my story with pride, with dignity. And I remember she told me one day, she said, Lynn, if people were good to you, they'll be known for good stories when you start talking. People were bad to you, they'll be known exactly for that. So don't ever alter your story to suit them so that they can feel good about the things that they didn't do. I love my family so much. All of them, the ones who hurt me, the ones who accused me, the ones who didn't look after me. I love all of them because I come from a foundation of raw love. I come from a foundation where I was taught that as humans, we need to look after each other. And I'm going to keep on doing that. One person after the other. My work colleagues always laugh at me and say, Lynn, we've never seen such a manager like you. You manage this place with passion, and that's what I do. They see me walking around in the shopping center. When I see an elderly, I think about a couple of days, one of my two I see, she say to me, Lynn, stop it. I know you're going to go and help that old lady. I know you're going to go and carry her bags. Let's keep walking. It's lunchtime. We need to go. But that comes from the passion that I was given by my family, by my mom especially. I encourage you. I hope I've inspired all of you out there just to be loving, to be caring. Look after these orphans. They need you. You will never know how it feels until you lose both your parents. You saw how Gertrude was sharing her story, breaking down, losing her rock as a grown woman. But how about that child who loses a parent when they're young? Who shapes their lives?
reach out if you can, help out if you can. You don't have to be tied with any foundations or anyone or any big names. Reach out, help these orphans. People are committing suicide. How many kids are losing their lives? A lot of people are killing themselves because of COVID. We've lost so many people. I was reading the stats. Worldwide, we lose a person from suicide every 4 seconds. Every 4 seconds. Knock on your neighbor's door. Check in on them. Who says it's wrong? Who says it's weird? Pick up the phone. Call each other. Love each other. Thank you.
Wow. What a wonderful end to the day, Ruth.
Yes. You know, Lynn's story is an amazing story, and where she's come from and where she is, she's such a
Yeah.
strong woman.
She's just incredible. And it doesn't matter how many times I listen to her speak, she moves me
Mm,
to the very depth of my soul. Just the most expressive young woman, and what she's done with her life, despite the challenges that she's had, is truly inspirational.
very inspirational, yeah. And I think now she's got 3 kids. She had
Yes.
her youngest last year, didn't she?
Yeah. So
Yes.
this brings us to the end of day 2 of the Herstory Online Summit. Thank you to all of the incredible women who stepped up to come and share their stories and honor their stories. Thank you to Verna, Nina, you were participating online, Dorothy, and a few other people, Coral in South Africa. It's the people who pay attention to these stories that make a difference for us as speakers. So do tune in, do join us again tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock in Melbourne, 9 a.m. in New Zealand. What time will it be there for you, Ruth?
10 p.m. in
10 p.m. in
Southern
Zimbabwe,
Africa.
9 p.m. in the UK, 3 p.m. US Eastern Time. Same time, same place. Thank you so much, everybody. Looking forward to seeing you. One last comment from Verna. Lynn's story was so heartfelt. It really was. She's an incredible
Yeah.
young woman. And we're really honored to be her sisters, to help, support, and empower her as she continues to share her story. And now she's reaching out to other orphaned children as well and helping in Zimbabwe in that capacity. So we'll be back tomorrow, Ruth. Thank you so much, my sister. I'm
We'll be
glad
back
your
tomorrow.
electricity held out for us today.
Yeah, so it's nearly 1:30 a.m. for me, so I'm off to bed.
Okay. Yeah, we will laugh about this someday, I know.
Someday.
Bye-bye,
Someday.
everybody. Have a fantastic day, morning, evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye for now.
Bye for now.
Bye, Ruth.